That's a long time ago. I haven't seen.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Liquor Control Commission hearing for Monday, August 16th, 2021. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lang.
Here.
Commissioner Kruger.
Present.
Commissioner Vito.
Here.
Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
Commissioner Papantos.
Present.
Commissioner Rufato.
Here.
Chairperson Horker.
Here. You have before you the minutes of the special meeting of the Liquor Commission for July 19th, 2021. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion, Trustee Papantos. Second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Brady, do we have anybody?
Not at this time, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Item A.
Consideration of the request for a Class L liquor license, Osteria Wheeling LLC, doing business as Saranello's for an event to be held at 910 McHenry Road, August 27th and 28th, 2021.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. As the title indicates, this is a request for a Class L liquor license for a private event, which is a farm-to-table dining event to be held at the Horker Farm, 910 McHenry Road, beginning on Friday, August 27th, and concluding on Saturday, August 28th. This is a private reservation-only event. And although Saranello's already holds a current and valid liquor license, a separate special event liquor license is required in this instance because the event will include the sale of alcoholic beverages outside their current licensed premises. If the Commission looks favorably on this request, staff recommends the approval with the following condition: payment of all applicable fees. I'm happy to answer any questions should the Commission have any.
Make a motion we approve.
Second with conditions.
Motion, Trustee Vogel. Second, Trustee Commissioner Kruger. Just to make matters clear, this is happening at the farm where I have lived and worked for about 50-some years, and from it I get the benefit of not being able to do business for about 4 days, and that's about it. But since it is taking place at the farm, I will be abstaining from the vote. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
I abstain for the reasons aforementioned.
Consideration of request for a Class L liquor license, Airshare, for an event to be held at 1011 South Wolf Road, September 15th, 2021.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. Again, as the title indicates, this is a request for a Class L liquor license for an event to be held on Wednesday, September 15th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Atlantic Aviation, located obviously at Chicago Executive Airport. Although this is a private event, a separate special event liquor license is required in this instance because the village's municipal code stipulates it is unlawful to permit the consumption of alcoholic liquor on the premises of any business or commercial enterprise during business hours unless a retail liquor dealer's license has been issued for such premises. If the Commission looks favorably in this request, staff recommends approval with the following condition, which is payment of all applicable fees. This did run through staff without any further comment. I'm happy to answer any questions should you have them.
Any questions or comments?
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner Kruger.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Rufato. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lang.
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel.
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Item C.
Consideration of a request for a Class N-L liquor license for Sofia's Café of Wheeling LLC, a proposed video gaming cafe at 353 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. Before you is a request for a Class NV video gaming cafe license for a business located at 353 North Milwaukee Avenue, which is a vacant portion of the former CarQuest site. Community development staff has determined that the establishment appears to meet the qualifications for a sit-down restaurant under the zoning code and therefore does not require special use approval. Should the commission wish to move forward, we recommend approval conditional upon the passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class NV liquor license, the submission of a certificate of liquor liability insurance, the satisfactory background check results, and the payment of all applicable fees. I believe the petitioner is here this evening if the commission has any questions.
Questions from Commissioner Papantos?
Thank you. The petitioner?
No?
There's no
Oh,
petitioner
is this
here?
the, I'm sorry, that's my bad. The petitioner's here for the next
No
one.
petition expected to be present.
There was an illness that came upon the petitioner. Apologies.
If he's not here, should we table it then?
If there are questions that I can't answer,
I wanted to know what hours he plans to operate and also how long it's going to take him to fulfill these conditions.
Director Clicker, do you know the answer to the hours question?
I'm not 100% certain on their hours of operation. I do know that the petitioner is a local bar/restaurateur in the area, and I'm certain that he would operate them under similar hours as to what his other establishments are, which I believe, in fact, he has a location in Niles which goes to 4 a.m., which I know he will not be requesting here. But standard hours for one of these type of operations, I don't know what those are specifically. And as far as how long it would take him to comply with those conditions, I would imagine it's just a matter of filing the appropriate paperwork.
That's correct on the latter answer. I'm not privy to the hours.
And personally, if he's not here, I don't see what the rush is to approve this.
Would you like to make a motion to table it?
Yes, please.
Would anyone be willing to second the motion? I'm sorry, Clerk Brady, motion to table. Anyone interested in seconding? Going once, going twice. Fails for lack of a second, sorry. Do you have any other questions?
Nope.
Then I need a motion, you got that?
Yep.
Then I need a motion to approve with the conditions as read by Manager Spondelis.
So moved.
Or it'll fail for failing.
So moved.
Commissioner Brady makes the, Commissioner Kruger makes the motion. Was that a second, Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Okay. Catch you guys off guard there. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
No.
Commissioner Papantos?
No.
Commissioner Rafato?
No.
Okay. Chairperson Parker?
Yeah.
Yes.
You didn't ask for my vote.
Did I miss you? I am so sorry. Commissioner Kruger?
It's a yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Consideration of a request for a Class N-V liquor license for RNV Enterprise, Inc., doing business as Jugaadu Slot and Video Poker, a proposed video gaming cafe at 860 South Wheeling Road. And then number E is RNV Enterprises, Inc., doing business as Jugaadu Slots and Video, proposed video gaming cafe at 216 McHenry Road.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. I'm going to start backwards this time. Is the petitioner here this evening? Excellent. Thank you. If you would then just step up and I'll introduce both items. It is the same in each location, which is a request for a Class NV video gaming cafe liquor license. First at 860 South Wheeling Road, a vacant unit in the First Colonial Commons Shopping Center, and the second location at 216 McHenry Road, a vacant unit in the Creekside Plaza Shopping Center. In both circumstances, the request is for table seating of fewer than 30 persons and to install the current legal maximum of 6 video gaming terminals in each of the 2 locations. Should the commission decide to move forward, we ask that, and the conditions are the same for both. Would you like me to read them twice, or that work?
I would say
the same for
read them
both.
once, as long as they're the same, we'll note it.
Passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class NV liquor license, submission of a certificate of liquor liability insurance, satisfactory background check results, and the payment of all applicable fees. With that, I would ask if there are any questions, the petitioner can respond.
Clerk, Commissioner Papantos?
Thank you. I'm having a rough day. Will both establishments have the same hours, and what are they?
They would be the same, and they'd be from morning 10 a.m. till evening, Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. And then Friday, Saturday, we'd run them till midnight.
To midnight, you said?
Yeah.
And
On
what
Friday
was
and Saturday.
Sunday?
Sunday to Thursday, it would be till 10 p.m.
Thank you. And do you have other establishments in other suburbs?
We do have one inside the Oswego gas station. So inside the gas station, we do have our first establishment. We've applied for liquor licenses in Oswego for 2 other locations. The board meeting is on September 7th in Oswego. And we are applying for 2 here. We're applying for 1 in Aurora and 1 in Lansing.
Okay, so we're the furthest north, right?
Yeah, we're the furthest north.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Papantos. Any other questions? And just for the record, you are Nick? No.
No, I am the
You're Nick Patel?
manager and IT operations manager.
And what is your name?
My name is Rajan, R-A-J-A-N.
Okay. Just for the record. So
Yeah,
there's
it's Rajan Mahadevia. My last name is Mahadevia, M-A-H-A-D-E-V-I-A.
Thank you, sir. If we have no other questions, I would like a motion to first approve RNV Enterprises, Inc., location 860 South Wheeling Road with conditions as read by Manager Spondilis.
So moved.
Commissioner Papantos, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Kruger. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kruger,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Vito,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
No.
Commissioner Papantos,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato,
No.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. And now I'm looking for a motion to approve the consideration for a request for a Class NV liquor license at 216 McHenry Road with the same conditions as read by Manager Spondilis. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lang makes the motion. Commissioner Papantos seconds. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kruger,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Vito,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
No.
Commissioner Papantos,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato,
No.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Consideration of a request for a Class J2 liquor license, Wheeling Commercial Development LLC, doing business as the Wheeling Town Center.
Mr. Spondilis, this is what we heard up last 2 weeks ago for?
Thank you. That is correct. At the last board meeting, the board approved the creation of a Class J2 shopping center common area liquor license, which is a solution for the successful implementation of a series of special events that the town center has hosted and plans to host in the future. As a condition of the J2 license, the applicant will not itself be authorized to sell liquor. All alcoholic beverage sales and service is to be conducted by existing liquor license establishments in the Wheeling Town Center. Should the commission agree, we ask that the approval be conditioned upon the following. Passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class J2 liquor license, the satisfactory background check results, and finally, the payment of all applicable fees. The petitioner is here this evening, and I can answer the questions as well.
Commissioner Papantos, you had a question?
Mr. Friedman? Because you would be disappointed if I didn't ask you a question.
I would be, yes.
I know. This license goes to end of April of '22. Do you currently, are you thinking that you'll have events January through April, possibly? or-
No, I think it's more for the warm weather. I thought it was going to be an annual license that would just be renewed.
That's correct.
So it's really just to help us round out our summer concert series for this, summer, maybe going into the fall with an Oktoberfest or something. We don't have any of those events planned yet, but I do think that ideally, as opposed to coming in here on a regular basis, not that I don't like seeing you guys, but, just so we can host live music events and other art fairs, farmers market, whatever it may be, where we want to have or give the public an opportunity to enjoy a beverage in the plaza. It seems to be working out pretty well, so.
I've only heard good things, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner Papantos. Any other questions?
I think it's Brad's birthday today, right?
Yes, it is.
Happy birthday, Brad.
Thanks, Jim.
Happy birthday, Brad.
No place I'd rather be.
Wow. I make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Rufato, second.
Second.
Everybody. Commissioner Papantos. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kruger?
One
Yes.
moment. With the conditions, did you read the conditions?
I did.
Oh, okay. With the conditions as read, of course. Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead, Clerk.
That's okay. Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Raffato?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes, thank you, sir. Enjoy
All
the
right,
parties.
thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Brad.
That concludes our business for the Liquor Commission hearings for the evening. I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Motion, Commissioner Rufato, second, Commissioner Kruger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Liquor Commission meeting is adjourned. I would now like to call to order the regular meeting of the Village Board for August 16th, 2021. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Raffato?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present?
President Horker?
Here. You have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of August 2nd, 2021. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Rufato,
Second.
second. Trustee Vogel, was that a wave? Okay. I don't know if we were bidding or, Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel? Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Raffato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
Excellent, we have no proclamations, administrations of oaths. That brings us to citizens' comments. Clerk Brady, what do we have?
Yes. Citizens' concerns and comments. Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding issues relevant to the village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commitment of the public meeting. And the first person I have is David Wild.
Just as a reminder to the board, this is a time for citizens to make their comments and express concerns, and for the board to listen. Neither the board nor staff will be answering questions. Mr. Wild? Oh, please.
You were talking, sir, no, sure.
Oh, usually there's a few seconds before somebody
I'm
gets here.
sorry.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I would like to formally thank you as well for the recent brush removal work done along Buffalo Creek on our property at the Arlington Club. My name is David H. Wild. I am the Buildings and Grounds Manager for the Arlington Club Condominium Association. With me are several fellow residents who are also on the board and live here in Wheeling as well. Our collective goal is to continue the work that you started with the clearing of the brush on the banks of Buffalo Creek and the efforts of the Buffalo Creek Watershed Program. The current Buffalo Creek Watershed Program was developed in 2015 A watershed basically is any surface area that drains water to be stored in the soil, into our aquifers, or in a body of water. Essentially, it's all the runoff that you see that goes towards a creek or gets stored. The program is designed to improve the water flow, reduce erosion, reduce water and land pollutants, natural and man-made, and to improve the quality of the water for both the village residents and the wildlife who depend on it. If we do not continue the efforts of the Buffalo Creek Watershed Program and consider any new issues that have developed since its implementation, the long-term environmental impact could become irreversible and damage to both private and public property. We continue to monitor the annually increasing water flow through our property of Buffalo Creek and have seen the devastating erosion caused to its banks from an increasing population, continued community development, and roadway improvements. We have provided some photos of that continued bank erosion that undermine the flood control for our community and the village of Wheeling at large. If you turn to the first page, you have two topographical maps. The red line in the top picture is the original creek of how it was back in 1938. And I believe in 2019, you see an aerial view. If you follow the dotted line, you see the creek no longer follows that. That's part of the erosion issue that goes along in all of Buffalo Creek, along with any creeks, rivers, and streams. You can see that there's you can see there is severe undercutting and erosion that have exposed tree roots, pipes, and support structures along the creek that had developed since the watershed program was implemented. If you go to the next page, that is at the high end of the creek, where you can see it actually took out a big part of the bank. The water is elevated there, and it took the fence that should be sitting on a post with it. If you go to the next page, you will see a concrete structure, and all that dark area off to the side used to be a bank filled with soil out to where the concrete is lying in the ground. When I started here 2.5 years ago, there was soil under those tree roots, and that's part of the erosion problem that we're facing. If you go to the last page, not the last page, that's it. We are looking to partner with the Village of Wheeling to further discuss what can be done and what assistance can be provided for these new necessary erosion control projects to Buffalo Creek. We want to be respectful of everyone's time by ensuring that our future communication goes to the right person. We're asking for a specific point of contact for someone at the village who is empowered to meet with us and discuss the necessary projects and project costs in greater detail. We thank you for your time and consideration on behalf of all those who live along and share in Buffalo Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Wild.
If I may, Mr. Kaup, if you could provide your card to Mr. Wild, and you can be the point of contact. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
William Nemmer.
Good evening. I'm Bill Nemmer. I own some property just south of the new London Crossing development. And actually, that was a very good segue into one of my concerns and questions that I have. I certainly support the approval of the London Crossing. However, I am concerned about changes which may occur to the water retention and water flow to the whole subdivision to the south of London Crossing. I have a couple pictures. I don't know if I don't have enough for everyone, but would you be interested in these?
Sure. If you have something, sure, you can give those to the clerk, if you would, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The first picture is shot from the parking lot of the driveway of the administration building near London School. That wetlands area on the right is the back of my property between the two telephone poles. I've always had a lot of drainage into that area. It really seems like it's gotten a little bit worse. There's a spillway that goes from the London and the administration parking lot into that area. I've had snow dumped in that area as well. So I want to make sure that the water retention and the water flow from this new development is not going to affect that area, or obviously I prefer that it improve the water flow. I'm particularly concerned about that big pile of dirt that you see just north of there, which was, I assume, was put in there a couple years ago by the developer in preparation for adding soil to that area. And I'm really afraid that's going to cause more problems than it solves. The second set of pictures, just a concern that I have in general about lighting in the village and really lighting throughout Illinois and the United States. I'm a big proponent of dark skies and avoiding light pollution. Light pollution is certainly a minor concern compared to all the other pollution in the world. I just wanted to advise the village that they may want to consider better streetlights that do not shine up into the air. The one that was proposed by the developer is shown on the left. You can see that it's certainly going to shine not only into the sky a little bit, but all over the side of that building there. A simple change is shown by the picture on the right, or there's many, many other ones available, of course, but just with the top of the fixture a little bit larger, it prevents is quite a bit less, it prevents more light from escaping into the atmosphere. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clerk Brady?
That's it. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Staff reports. Mr. Ainsworth, you have something for us?
Thank you, Village President. The Economic Development Department usually gets a phone call a time or two about progress on projects, new businesses coming in, and our available property map, et cetera. So our department's taken an initiative to help exemplify some of the great stories that are coming out, the progresses, businesses expanding, potentially local employers that are hiring in the area with a new Wheeling Economic Development Facebook page. We will be sending out a press release here tomorrow, and I'm happy to say that we've got some tools that we're looking to advertise, including our interactive dining map, our available property map, and other potential initiatives. So happy to take any questions you may have, but it's just a tool to make sure the public knows what's going on in Wheeling.
Trustee Kruger.
Thank you. Director Ainsworth, this is a great idea. I'm a big fan of promoting the village's anything on social media. But sometimes I receive emails or phone calls from citizens asking me for a recommendation of ABC contractor. And, you know, who does the village, you know to be good? Would that kind of information be available on this site?
Not necessarily. We're trying not to endorse one particular business over another. We want to be as fair as possible. And really, we're going to try and keep this to construction projects, new businesses that have opened up to the public, and other general miscellaneous information.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. So as far as new businesses, will there be a link to the business? So if it's a new restaurant, somebody can click on the link and figure out what type of food or where they're at?
Our interactive dining map does that. When you click on, let's say, the new Cousin Subs, there will be a direct link that goes directly to their Wheeling establishment. As a matter of fact, you can, in some cases, order food from our map through their website, especially, and it's filterable, right, for delivery and outside seating. We're certainly going to work on this, and again, to be as fair as possible, but to also notify the public of projects, especially that came before Village Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. No other questions? Chief Dunn, you have something for us.
Thank you, President Horker. I just wanted to make an announcement that this Friday will be Coffee for Champions. We'll be at the Dunkin' Donuts by the Westin. This is formerly Cop on Top, the rooftop event that we used to hold, but they've changed the name to different corporate sponsors this year. So this year it's called Coffee for Champions. And police officers will be out there from 5 a.m. to noon collecting funds and donations for Special Olympics. The Wheeling Police Department and law enforcement in general in Illinois are the largest supporters for Special Olympics. Over 200,000 athletes are affected nationwide, and we're proud to participate. So stop out there, support Special Olympics, and there'll be items for purchase out there also. Thank you.
What day was that?
This Friday,
Times?
5 a.m. to noon.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And no one on the roof, right?
We might be on the roof.
Okay.
Tradition.
All right. Clerk Brady, consent agenda.
All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will enact by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the board members or citizens so request, in which event this item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code, Phase 1 of the Wheeling Road Improvement. 11B, resolution for improvement under the Illinois Highway Code, Phase 1 and 2 Northgate Parkway improvements. 11C, resolution authorizing the village president clerk to execute an access plat of easement grant with Hutton Development at 1048 South Milwaukee Avenue. 11D, resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the village president to execute a 3-year contract with Balanced Environments, Inc. for holiday light installation, maintenance, and removal service in the amount of $138,697, which quote was obtained through a request for proposal purpose. 11E, ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling's Municipal Code, alcohol liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.085 to increase the authorization number of Class J2 liquor license. And that's it.
Do we have any questions or comments? If there are none, I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Rafato, second, Trustee Papantos. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. 13.
A, public hearing. The request for Cook County Class 7B real estate tax assessment for Santa Corporation at 751 North Milwaukee Avenue.
And now there is a script I am to read. This is a public hearing for the public to make comments regarding the request for a Class 7B real estate tax assessment for 751 North Milwaukee Avenue. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Herald. Each member of the public shall have 5 minutes to make their comments. During this time, staff and the board will not answer questions. Comments should not be repetitive or argumentative. Are there any comments from the public? And I see we have one. Would you please identify yourself?
Good evening. I am Kristen Duffy. I am the attorney for Santa Corp. I'm an attorney at the law firm of Crane & Norcross. Along with me tonight are Mario Malone and Mr. Alice Leek, who is an architect designer, and Mr. Malone is a realtor working to bring in businesses to Wheeling.
Before we get to your presentation, Ms. Duffy.
This is the public hearing where the public.
We want
Okay, I
to determine if there are any
Yeah.
members of the public that wish to speak, and then you'll be up.
Yeah.
No
Thank
problem. Yep, no,
Easy.
it'll be 1 second. Hang tight. Yep. You don't have to leave.
Is there anyone from the public who has a comment? This is your turn. There being no public comments, I now move to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion, trustee Kruger, second, trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13B, resolution consenting to a Cook County Class 7B real estate tax assessment classification for the property located at 751 North Milwaukee Avenue in the village of Wheeling, Illinois.
And read C as well, please.
Sure. Resolution approving a Class 7B classification incentive agreement with Santa Corporation regarding 751 North Milwaukee Avenue, Wheeling, Illinois.
Excellent. Mr. Ainsworth.
Thank you, Village President. So before you tonight is one of the first 7Bs that we're considering for new construction. This is a type of Cook County classification for commercial properties. Class 6s are generally for industrial properties. So this is the similar equivalence. It's a 12-year property tax reduction. The property owner has owned the property since 2017, unsuccessfully trying to pre-lease companies to get a construction loan. They do have an interested fast casual with a drive-through operation that has been approved by Village Board for the design back in 2020. And the petitioner is attempting to fill the rest of the space with commercial, retail, food and beverage restaurant businesses, but it has been unsuccessful, and they are at the point of not sure if they are moving forward or if they believe they get this incentive, this will help attract more businesses. Because it's the first one, economic development staff and the village attorney had negotiated an incentive agreement. These are standards and requirements that the property owner must comply with for the entire 12-year term. That is 75% of the business must be food and beverage or sales tax producing businesses, which is very similar to our other redevelopment agreements and incentive agreements we have throughout the village. There must be no business within 500 feet being taken from that property to this property for the benefit of the tax break. And they must make sure that they're in compliance with village codes for that 12-year period. This does give us teeth to make sure that when we give these out, we're giving them out responsibly, and that we want to make sure that there's a high standard that we uphold. And with this being on Restaurant Row in front of the Westin and near the corner of Lake Cook and Milwaukee Avenue and Lake Cook Road, we do find that with this incentive, with this agreement, that staff will certainly help with the petitioner fill the space after the building is built.
Thank you, Mr. Ainsworth. Ms. Duffy. Sorry?
I apologize if I
No worries.
overstepped before.
Questions from the board? Trustee Lang?
Just a comment. We have some standards that we have put in place even on the Westin outlots in the past, and eventually time wears us down. And when certain restaurants we forbid, or not forbid, but aren't looking for fast food type places to come in, and all of a sudden it's years and years, and we're worn down. Everyone says, okay, we got to fill it with something. How do we ensure that that's not going to happen this time?
Well, obviously, we can't predict the future, but we can tell you that we already have interest from a coffee shop to go into a large portion of the property. That would also include that drive-through aspect, and they are negotiating with another restaurant, hoping to take there's 3 spots total, to take a second spot in there. So they've had some interest if they are able to go forward, but the taxes have been a main issue that both business are considering, because right now it just is a vacant lot. It's at $85,000 a year.
So you're pretty far along with 2 out of the 3.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's good to know. It just, and Mr. Ainsworth will,
Yeah, and Trustee Lang, just so you know, we're beefing up our activities to help recruit new businesses, and I'm happy to say we have had some conversations with prospective sit-down restaurants in addition to the coffee shop chain. So while they're conversations, I think they're positive, and we're certainly wanting to assist this business to add to Restaurant Row and to the vitality of the Weston development.
and that's all I'm looking for as well, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos, you had a question or a concern?
Thank you, and I'm not sure if this is to you or to staff. Did you say that there were 3 buildings?
No, I'm sorry, that's one spot with 3 separate spots.
Well, I'm sorry, so there's 3 businesses.
Correct.
75%, I mean, 2 is, you have to have all 3 to hit the 75% goal unless my math is off.
To be super technical, it's a 10,000 square foot building. The
Okay,
coffee
so
shop
we're
chain.
looking at square footage, not?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So 75% of the floor area, and the coffee shop is taking about 2,300 square feet, give or take. So that still requires them to take another 5,000 plus square feet for food and beverage or sales tax producing businesses.
And that's where I was coming from. I just didn't, because my math was saying, well, that's all 3 then have to be sales tax generating. But if it's square footage, that makes more sense. Thank you. And then after the 12 years, when the 7B expires theoretically, I mean, hopefully you will continue with the tax generating business, which I think helps everybody in the long run versus.
Hopefully, and we would be able to reapply then, and similar conditions could be put on the 7B at that time, or we could reassess it, and the village could say what it would like to do with that property at that point.
Thank you.
Sorry, one clarification. As part of the incentive agreement, there's a statement in there that the 7B will not be renewed, that this is a 12-year opportunity to get businesses established and make sure that, you know, they're viable by the end of that 12-year period.
I apologize, that's
That-
correct.
that's-
7Bs in general, though, are renewable.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, Trustee Vito.
Yeah, my one question is why, I mean, I understand why we want it, but if there's improvements made and they're, I mean, even if they remain empty at this point, we're still going to get a windfall of, what, $55,000 in additional tax revenue? So I don't know why we would need this restriction, because they seem, I mean, at least on the 2 properties we have behind us, like they're kind of unattainable at this point, given the current market situation. So I don't see a reason to have that classification. My other question is, can we revoke these at any time and then take it back to a regular tax level throughout the 12-year period, just on a simple revocation?
We have to petition Cook County to revoke. The county actually grants the 7B classification, 6B, whatever the classification is. We would notify the county of a violation of the agreement and let the county know that we've withdrawn our support. In those cases, the county typically will follow suit with revocation.
And that's a normal basis? I mean, is it statutory in whatever is in 7B?
It's an allowable basis, calling it normal, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have them all be sales tax and whatever, but I just don't know if it's feasible. And what happens if, you know, 75% of it remains vacant and the coffee shop's in? Do they get a revocation of the 6B?
Well, we would, I'll
Or the
start.
7B, sorry.
I'll give this to Pat. We could evaluate whatever they present to us. We could modify if you choose to, or stick to the terms of the agreement. Mr.
Yeah,
Ainsworth.
thank you, Village Attorney Furlow. So Trustee Vito, the design of the building actually lends itself to restaurants. There are 2 outside patios. One is going to be for the coffee shop. The other one on the other end would be for a sit-down restaurant. Plus, it has been relatively a great process to lure potential restaurants here because of the Weston, because of the attractions of the other restaurants. Restaurants attract restaurants, and you'll hear later tonight about the Restaurant Row study that, you know, we certainly want to build on that, and this incentive and this classification will help with the last outlot and attracting such users to this area.
Yeah, I get it, but what happens if they remain vacant? Do they then jeopardize the 7B? If 20, they only have the coffee shop, and you said it was what, a quarter of the space? So now they have 75% vacant. Do we go in and try to revoke the 7B?
So the other potential user is a a food user, and then
I
the
get
two.
all that, I'm sorry to
Right.
cut you off, but I mean, what if it remains vacant?
Well, and on top of that, don't forget, we also have the restaurant retail build-out grant that could assist, if it's warranted, to also incentivize these ideas. This area is one of our best retail restaurant areas. We did not put a requirement of timing that they must have it filled within the 75% within 2 years or such. But you've got a great team with staff here, and they've got a great brokerage firm to help attract those folks. So to that end, I am confident we will get a lot of interest to hopefully sign the dotted line eventually in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, continued vacancy is not a default under the incentive agreement. I think
Okay.
that's what you're going for.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Thank you.
That's what you're looking for, right?
Yes, that's what I want. All
Even I
right, thank
figured
you.
that out.
I mean, I don't like the requirement, but it seems the petitioner's okay with it. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
We just needed a lawyer to decipher that for us, for you.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions or concerns, I would like a motion to approve 13B.
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Vogel, second trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, good luck.
Thank you very much.
You forgot C.
We need
Oh,
C.
sorry, yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Motion C as well. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Rufato, second trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. There we go. Now we're in for D.
13D, ordinance granting a variation from Title 19 zoning to permit a 6-foot-tall opaque fence within the front yard setback area at 968 Garden Lane. Docket number 2021-24.
Mr. Clicker, are we going to get that?
Yes.
One of these days?
At our August 25th Plan Commission meeting, we will be addressing this with a text amendment that will hopefully alleviate the vast majority of these requests.
Excellent. But what we have here is?
We have a request for a 6-foot fence on a corner side yard, which is technically 2 front yards, which therefore means that they are restricted to a 4-foot fence. The Plan Commission heard this on their July 28th Plan Commission meeting and unanimously recommended approval with the condition that the original proposal was for a chain link fence. The Plan Commission did put a condition on that it be a wood or composite material should be used for the fence.
Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Papantos.
I just want to know is the petitioner here? Are you okay with the conditions? You need to come to the mic, sir.
Step up. Please come up and say hi. Please introduce yourself and. What's your name?
My name is Michael.
You can take them. Are you
Yeah.
comfortable taking that off?
Yeah, my name is Michael Yakubovich.
Are you comfortable with the conditions of the,
Yeah, I'm owner. I'm owner of this house.
okay.
And you will put a wood or a composite fence in versus the chain link, is my question.
We are going to build them from wood, not from chain link.
It's going to do it on wood.
He's doing what? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Rufato, second trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13E, ordinance granting a variation from Title 19. Oh, wait, I just read that. Wait.
There's 2.
There's two.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was reading the same one.
That's why I
Okay,
asked about the
Back
code
up,
amendment.
back up. Granting a variation from Title 19 zoning to permit a 6-foot-tall opaque fence within the front yard setback area of 554 Briarwood Drive, docket number 2021-29.
Mr. Clicker?
I won't bore you with the details. It's our standard request. The Plan Commission heard it on August 11th and unanimously recommended approval.
Questions or comments? There are no questions or comments. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Lang makes the motion. Trustee Kruger makes the second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, Mr. Spondilis, you have something on this?
Director Clicker, correct me if I'm misspeaking. Should the Plan Commission agree with the language of the text amendment on August 25th, the board would consider the permanent change addition to the code on September 20th.
That is correct.
Their next meeting. Thank you.
Everybody wins. You all get your fences, and we're going to get some new code.
13F.
And G together, please.
Okay, ordinance granting special use for preliminary planned unit development approval for the development of the mixed-use development at 889-903 West Dundee Road, London Crossing. Docket number 2021-25. Resolution approving the preliminary plat of subdivision associated with the proposed preliminary planned unit development for mixed-use development, London Crossing, 889-903 West Dundee Road, docket number 2021-26.
Before we get too deep into this, Mr. Spondilis, could you please explain the difference between a preliminary planned unit development approval, a final plan, and how we've got so many conditions that we're going to address, and why is this before us, and that kind of stuff?
Yes, because he has a wonderful analogy, I guess it would be. I'll let Director Clicker provide the public with the overview.
Certainly. What we have here in the village is we have a three-step process. We have our concept review, which the way I liken to refer to this is you're in an airplane, you're in the commercial airplane, and they've announced that you're beginning your first approach, final approach for landing. You're 15,000 feet or higher up in the air. You can look out the window and you can see the basic shapes on the ground, but you can't really tell any distinct buildings, and you definitely can't tell exactly what they're used for. Now we're at the preliminary PUD approval stage, which is when they put on that final fasten your seatbelts and tell you to prepare for landing warning that comes across announcement that comes from the cockpit. Now when you look out the window, you can start to see all the buildings, and you can see that they're basic shapes and basic uses that are in there. The final stage would be the final PUD, which is right before touchdown, when you can look out and you can see the fact of all the details of the building and exactly what they are, that it's a car dealership, that it's a school, that it's a townhome development versus just a residential neighborhood. So those are the three stages that we're at. We're in that middle stage right now where we know the basic elements, we know where they're going to be, but they're still, you can't tell all the details. So that's where we're at, and that's honestly why you see the number of conditions that you do at this point, is because they're getting to that final stage. We've been working with the petitioner from the concept plan to this preliminary stage to get it to a point where you can begin to recognize the features. And now from here, we're going to get it to that final approach landing stage where we're going to polish up the edges and make it a presentable or final development for the village board.
So it's still sort of fluid at this point?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Clicker. Now, Mr. Clicker.
Before you have a planned unit development approval for Wingspan, which is a development group that is proposing a mixed-use development consisting of commercial, industrial, and commercial and residential townhome land uses on a property that was formerly occupied by the International Furniture Gallery and an Aldi grocery store, always amazing retail store, adjacent to Dunhurst Plaza. And as everybody tells me, this was a Sears site. So going all the way back, it was a Sears. So this has been a property that has had some difficulties over the years. Wingspan has acquired the property and is proposing, as I said, a mixed-use development of 55 townhomes with commercial retail, and they have also now partnered with School District 21 to build a new administration center on this site. The Plan Commission, the original concept review was back on January 15th of 2018. The Plan Commission did hear this at their August 11th Plan Commission meeting and recommended that it be advanced forward for the board consideration for final. There were 18 conditions, and there have been a few that have already actually been addressed. but I'll read through those if you'd like. Again, a lot of these are minor in nature, and we are already in discussions with the developer to address many of them. So number one was that the school district administration building east and west building elevation shall incorporate recesses and/or projections to reduce the large expanses of blank walls facing the public areas. Now, these regarding the school district building, I would just like to point out, we have received revised drawings from the school district. They are reflective in your packet, and they do address a lot of these. So we're just going to make sure before we officially say don't even bother as those as conditions. We just want an opportunity to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed before we take these off. 2, the school district administration building elevation shall be revised to accurately display the full extent of the proposed building design for each elevation. 3, the primary material on the commercial building shall be masonry. 4, a more traditional residential brick color shall be used for the brick of the residential townhomes. 5, additional siding color shall be incorporated into the townhome portions of the development to avoid monotony. 6, the preliminary designs of the trash enclosure shall be submitted at the final PUD. 7, a more unique lighting shall be incorporated into the development. 8, more decorative light pole and fixture befitting the residential character of the townhome shall be selected. 9, additional planting areas shall be provided around the commercial retail building. 10, the existing sidewalk along the frontage of the property shall be widened to 8 feet in alignment with the village's active transportation plan. 11, continue to work with staff regarding the design of the fence between the townhomes and commercial areas of the development. 12, a parking study shall be required for the non-residential portions of the development. 13, all wall-mounted light fixtures shall be included on the photometric plan, and manufacturer cut sheets for the fixtures shall be provided at the final PUD. 14, details of the group mailboxes within the townhome area shall be included within the final PUD documents for review. 15, the design of the bike rack shall be included within the final PUD documents for review. 16, prior to preliminary PUD approval, the village board, and I can say that this has already been addressed, so this is a condition that we can remove. The landscape plan shall be revised to remove the notation that the parkway trees to be planted by the village. That can be stricken, and it has been in the documentation before you in the actual ordinance. 17, the existing agreed landscape island at the eastern let me start that one again. The existing aged landscape island at the eastern entrance drive be updated with new landscaping to match the proposed development to be shown on the final landscape plan to be included within the final PUD documents for review. And 18, continue to work with staff regarding additional shade trees within the north courtyards of the townhomes, which shall be shown on the final landscape plan to be included within the final PUD documents for review. This was reviewed as typical with a PUD designation and review. The developer can request code relief. They have requested 3 areas of code relief, and that would be one is setbacks. Part A is the MXT R4 residential calls for 30-foot setbacks. For the front, rear, and side yards, the London Crossing Plan provides for setbacks of 24 feet and 11 feet respectively. The MXT and B is the MXT B3 general commercial calls for side yard setbacks of greater than 15 feet or the building height 54.67 feet. The London Crossing Plan provides for a side yard setback of 32 feet. 2, parking. A, MXT B3 general commercial based on the building size calls for 162 parking spaces. The London Crossing Plan provides 112 spaces. 3, height. A, MXT R4 residential calls for a building height limit of 35 feet. The London Crossing Plan allows for a building height of 39.1 feet. And B, MXT B3 general commercial calls for a building height limits of 50 feet. The London Crossing Plan allows for a building height of 54.7 feet. With the aforementioned conditions that I mentioned, with the one already being stricken, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Clicker. Trustee Lang, you had a comment?
Well, is there a presentation first?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then I will.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Good evening, I'm Chris Coleman with Wingspan Development. Do I get sworn in?
No.
Okay. Thank you all very much for being here, or for allowing me to be here. You were going to be here already, but thank you very much for giving us the chance to come on and present tonight. This has been a project, as Mr. Clicker mentioned, that we've been working on for a long time.
I appreciate all the hours that staff has put in, our consultants have put in. We've worked through a number of issues on this property. As you may be aware, I'm sure, the floodplain was changed to remove this property from the floodplain. That was an issue that was impeding the redevelopment of the site. We worked through potential signalization of the intersection at Cedar. We worked through the possibility of removing the pedestrian overpass on Dundee. We worked through all those issues. Then there were some staff changes here at the village, but everybody has continued to work very hard on this process, and we are very excited to be here, excited about this opportunity to create what we're calling a new gateway into Wheeling. And I'd like to, if I could, take you through a couple of slides tonight. I'll go through as quickly as I can, trying to be respectful of time. And do I do this? Oh. Okay, great. So this slide shows the outline of the property. The property is 11.5 acres on the south side of Dundee, about 550 feet west of Elmhurst Road, in between Dunhurst Plaza and London School. Dunhurst Plaza is bookended by the Pancake House and Sherwin-Williams, to give people a frame of reference. This is a view of the site from the north looking to the south. Mr. Clicker gave a very good anthology of all the uses of the property over the course of time. I think the property most notably has suffered from a lot of deferred maintenance. And this was the condition it was in at the time we purchased it. And I'd like to take just a couple of seconds here to run you through some photographs of what it looked like when we purchased it, because sometimes after the buildings are taken down, you forget what it looked like before. This is looking, you can see the Sherwin-Williams store here on the left, the Always Amazing and the Sunrise Market there on the facade. This island here in the center is what Mr. Clicker was referring to. The staff has asked and we've agreed to go ahead and re-landscape this, but we control essentially from this curb line here on the island all the way to London Crossing. Okay, we have no interest in Dunhurst Plaza. Some more photographs. This is the parking lot. Look, you can see the furniture gallery, the old Sears store in the background there. And this is looking from the other direction. This is looking from the west toward the east. This is an aerial of the property. And what you see here is you see the two buildings. This is actually 2 lots of record today. And what we're coming in with is we're coming in with a 4-lot PUD. And you can see the western portion of the property is where the vegetation is. And the reason that's vegetation is this is where the poor soil conditions are. You heard a neighbor earlier tonight. He said he's back here near this, what is our southwest corner of our property. This corner is low and wet. And all through here, the soils are bad. There's a high plasticity, low structural content. So this site is going to have a lot of what's called cut and fill. We're going to have to remove a lot of soil and then bring in structural fill. That's been one of the impediments to redevelopment is the soil conditions. And in fact, you may recall that the village at one time wanted to put a fire department building on this property and abandon it in part because they couldn't get the soils to work to support the building. And that's also part of the reason why the property is looking for TIF support, because to do all of this soil work is expensive. The 2 main components to the TIF request, which is going through a separate process, we're working with Joe Paluski on that. He's done work here in the village before.
Just to be clear, we're not talking about TIF tonight because the village has not received any TIF application from the developer. I just want to put that out there.
Correct. That's a separate process. Thank you. The other factor is detention. This property today, when it was built, there was no real detention requirement, and as part of our redevelopment, we're adding a little over what's called 4 acre-feet of detention in 3 different detention facilities. You'll see that as we get a little further. This is our site plan. On the south here, you see the townhomes, the row homes, and then to the north is the commercial redevelopment. And this is, what we like to consider best practices in urban design, where you transition from a low-density use, which is the existing single families on Norman, to our townhomes on what is going to be an extension of Jenkins. It'll be private street, but built to public standards. And then the commercial to the north. Right now, the people who live on Norman, they back up to essentially the loading dock on the old Sears store, the old IF furniture gallery. And this box here represents what is our lot 1, the townhomes. And this box up here is really 3 commercial or retail lots. The furthest one to the west is going to be the new home of the District 21 administrative offices and a community center. Then Lot 3 is an inline retail store, you can see depicted there. And Lot 4 is going to be a single user. But for purposes of the submission tonight, we tabled that. That's something that once we get through the approvals tonight, and fortunately we'll get through approvals tonight, you'll see the merit of our plan. Mr. Ainsworth and I will work on who is going to be that single user of that Lot 4. So this is that same 4 lots essentially applied over the aerial of the property. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to quickly walk through the site plan kind of clockwise, starting with the row homes, the townhomes to the south. So this is the south portion of the property. This is Jenkins Court here on the right. You see the lot lines of the homes on Norman at the bottom or to the south. And our plan is to extend Jenkins west through the property, and then it bends north. And I'll explain the bending north in a second. But we've got 5 townhomes per building, 11 buildings. Jenkins acts like a spine. And then we've got motor courts coming off of Jenkins. On the south side of Jenkins, running the length of our property east to west, we have a new sidewalk, a carriage walk. And that is to deliver any pedestrian traffic, walking traffic that might be coming up Kings, bring it over to London School. Right now, there's no, in fact, I don't even know how kids, if they're in the neighborhood, how they get to London School. But this gives them a safe way to go along a sidewalk to get to the school. We don't show any sidewalk on the north side of Jenkins. There's no residential uses on the north side of Jenkins as you head toward Elmhurst Road. There's a church and then a restaurant, so there's no pedestrian traffic on that north side anyway. What we do show is we show a new sidewalk coming north, going then into the commercial property. So if you lived in the neighborhood to the south and you wanted to walk to what is going to be our new development or to the existing Dunhurst Plaza, and you wanted to go get some paint or go to the grocery store, there's a little grocer there, or you wanted to get some pancakes, you could walk up Kings, go on Jenkins, come up our new sidewalk, and go right into the commercial properties. Okay? Let me speak now to this nature of the street. One of the reasons that we did this with the street is that we're trying to provide access for our townhome residents. We're trying to address fire and safety concerns, but at the same time, we're trying to make the path a little bit circuitous so that no one on Dundee, if they get stopped at the light, decides, I'm going to cut through down to Jenkins and then go out to Elmhurst that way, because this is a little bit more difficult to travel. So we're trying to keep the traffic on Jenkins limited to residents so that it's a quieter street for everybody's benefit. This is a zoom in on the landscaped court in between the row homes. These row homes have the front door on one side and the garage on the other. I point that out in large part because I know there have been some recent developments approved in town that had the garage on the same side as the door, and the garage ended up being compacted a little bit. These townhomes are 22 feet wide, so there's no, and the garage is nice and wide, so there's no issue about storage in the garage, whether you can fit your cars plus your garbage cans. They're nice sized garages. Behind each garage, there's 2 parking spaces, so you get 2 in the garage, 2 behind, plus we have guest spaces. We have 26 guest spaces, so there's plenty of parking in the community. In addition to the landscaping in the front of the buildings, we've also provided some landscaping by the garages so that these drive aisles don't appear so hard we soften them with a little bit of landscaping. This is a rendered elevation of what the row homes would look like from the front. We are not going to be the builder of the row homes. We're going to deliver building pads to Ryan Homes. We've done several communities with Ryan Homes, and this is the architecture that they're proposing. It's been very well received. The Plan Commission had a lot of very nice comments about it. A couple of comments related to siding color. Ryan submitted 3 different palettes of siding and brick colors. The Plan Commission had some thoughts about, and staff also, about alternating the siding colors between buildings to ease any monotony concerns, and Ryan agreed to that. And the other question was the actual brick colors. So they supplied 3 different brick samples. The Plan Commission wanted to see some additional samples, and we agreed that we, along with Ryan, would work with staff to provide more samples so that we could find something that was acceptable. This slide, there was a question about what the rear of the townhomes would look like, and I think the best way to describe the rear of the townhomes, because I don't have a rendered image, is Northgate Crossing. So Northgate is essentially the same type of living. It's a little bit different in the front because the grade is built up in the front, so you have what's called a split foyer. You walk in, and then you walk either up or down. The ones that we're proposing, you just walk in at grade, and then you walk upstairs. But the rear will be substantially like this. One of the differences is that, I don't know that that's, didn't put it in there. Okay. So where you see, let me go back to this slide. So do you see this level of the brick here on the side, on this right side? So Ryan would continue the brick at that level around to the back, which essentially is these 3 interior townhomes. Otherwise, you would have a mismatch of the height of the brick. So they would carry the level of brick on the sides all the way around the back and then return it on the other side. This is a call out of the types of materials that they plan to use. The other thing that this shows, you can see it on the other one also, is just some of the architectural detailing. This soldier course of brick here, the heavy detailing on the trim around the windows, and the very nice detailing within the windows themselves. And they also include some nice elements here like a box bay, things of that nature, to make the architecture visually interesting. These are some interiors of that same floor plan type. These are actual interiors of another community that we're doing with Ryan in Mount Prospect. So if you wanted to go see what these townhomes would look like on the inside, you can go see these. These are at Maple Street Lofts in Mount Prospect. Okay, we're going to turn the clock a little bit, and we're going to go up here to what is our northwest corner. This is the proposed District 21 administrative building, and that's right up here in the upper right-hand corner. And as I start talking about this, another thing I wanted to mention was that in working with staff, the village had spent a lot of time and effort, and I'm sure not inconsequential funds, to look at how retail businesses orient to the street. So one of the things that we did in the revisions that we had to the plan was that we pulled these retail uses closer to the street to try to make it more pedestrian friendly. But right now what we're talking about here is this corner up here. This is a blow up of that. You see the building footprint here. You see a big parking field here. Let me see if I can back up here. So this parking field has vaulted detention in it. So underneath the parking, there's actually, we don't know the exact material right now because we haven't gotten there, but there's going to be underground detention under the parking lot. So we have underground detention under the parking lot here. We've got a detention basin in this, what is the southwest corner. And the gentleman who spoke earlier lives somewhere in here. And he's absolutely right. This is a low area and it is wet. And what we're going to do with this redevelopment is we're going to control this water much better. In fact, right now, I would say the water's not controlled at all. But the water will be controlled here. There's this basin, and all of these are connected by pipe underground. Then there's this long basin that runs east-west and then pops a little bit to the north here. And then there's the underground vaulted detention system here. So as I mentioned, it's a little over 4 acre-feet of detention that we're adding to the property. It is very substantial addition to the performance in terms of stormwater management for this property, and the homeowners to the south should benefit also. So thank you for that little interlude. But this is the parking for District 21, and beneath it, as I said, is the detention. This is the perspective of the north and west facades of the District 21 Administrative Center. And I think Mr. Clicker mentioned it, the district really took to heart the comments of staff, and from the original submittal that was made to these drawings today, they've made a considerable effort to address those concerns and be a good partner in delivering the best possible development for the community, not just for them, but for the overall community. So this building design shows a complementary mix of materials and a lot of glass, and it's got nice elements like this fenestration of windows here and here that kind of lift your eye. A lot of glass here along this west facade. This corner here, which is the northeast corner of their building, you get another perspective of it here. Very interesting. You got depth of movement of the facade. That was a specific request of staff, is that the facade move a little bit. That does two things. It breaks up the vertical plane. It also creates shadow lines. You get a very interesting shadow line with this roof design, with this overhang, casts a shadow along the front of the facade here. This is the east facade. This is another view of that same facade. And then they also, with their lettering and signage, they took these spaces that were a little bit powerful and muted them, and that made them softer and brought them into the overall design of the building. This is the southeast facade, and this building, just to give you another perspective, if this person here got on their bicycle and rode immediately to the left, they'd ride their bike into the London School parking lot, just to give you another perspective as to where we are. And this is the southwest corner of the building, so this is the west facade and the south facade of the District 21 building. So I hope that between what was submitted and the efforts that the district has made since the initial submittal, they've demonstrated that they really do want to be a good partner and deliver a high-quality, architecturally appealing and pleasing building for the property. This site here, this is lots 3 and 4. This is going to be retail, commercial retail. Here's a blow-up of it. Again, this is going to be a single-user, fast casual, quick serve, coffee type user. It's not going to be green open space. We just haven't shown it here. One of the things that's important for these retail users is that they see activity on the property, because they've got certain timeframes that they work in, and they want to know that if they commit to a site, that the building is going to be delivered in a certain time horizon so that they can meet their objectives for whatever their penetration is in any given market. So as soon as we get through the process, again, hopefully it's this evening, then Mr. Ainsworth and I can start working on this. But we have an elevation to give you a concept of the architecture of this inline store. And it's a mix of materials. It's contemporary. It's a clean contemporary, but classic also. We didn't want to do anything that was too contemporary and would be out of style quickly, whether that was the color palette or material selections. We wanted something that was contemporary but still would have a good lifespan within the design. These call-outs call for instance, this call-out here is wood grain metal panel. Staff has said that they would prefer that to be masonry. There are masonry products that we can use that look like wood. There are masonry products that we've used that look like metal. So we can achieve this look using masonry products. But this is the design that we're presenting this evening. The final design will of course depend on who the ultimate user is. They're going to want some input on, for instance, the signage on the building itself. They might have some input on, where the doors are, things of that nature. But we do contemplate that both of these locations will be drive-throughs. One of the things that, with all the retail that's in Wheeling, we think that there's a demand for more drive-through. And we think that a good drive-through tenant draws other good tenants because they develop a lot of traffic. Again, this is just to highlight the building that's going to be a single user. These are two, Mr. Clicker referred to these. This is the light pole, the more decorative light pole that we're agreeing to use in the townhome area. And then this was the fence that we discussed at the Plan Commission. We talked about putting lattice on top to make it a little bit more decorative, soften it up a little bit. But ultimately, we agreed we'll work with staff and come back with something, include something in the final plan that's softer. In terms of parking, Mr. Clicker mentioned parking as one of the reliefs that we're seeking, and I think that I asked the trustees to keep in mind, or just think about this, that the plan shows parking for Lot 2, Lot 3, and Lot 4. But really, from a functional standpoint, it's all going to work together. There is going to be an agreement between these lot owners for two things. One is for egress, or three things: egress, parking, and stormwater management. The stormwater management is also going to be, the townhomes are going to be tied in also, because it's one system that all four lots are going to be sharing. So just keep that in mind. When you're looking at the parking count for Lot 1 or Lot 2, just remember that Lot 2 can also use Lot 3, and Lot 3 can also use Lot 4. Another point is that when you're planning out any given use of a property, you have to try to anticipate what the user profile will be and then what the demand calculation will be for that user profile. Here, we've got a very unique situation where we know who the user is going to be for Lot 2. It's going to be the district, and the district has a history of their operations in terms of what their parking demand is. And so we can model that out much closer. The other unique attribute of this site is that their new administration building is going to be immediately adjacent to a parking lot that they own and have access to and have use of. So the analogy I used in the Plan Commission meeting is that if we're lucky, if Mr. Ainsworth and I are lucky enough to land a Chipotle, and I go to the Chipotle that's on Lot 2 and I get a burrito, I could park on the District 21 parking lot and nobody's going to care when I go in and get my burrito. If someone is coming to the District 21 office and they park next to the Chipotle, Chipotle's not going to care that person parked next to Chipotle. I can't park at London School and go get my burrito. That's not allowed. But the London School parking lot is there in the situation where additional parking is needed. So that's the extent of my comments. I just want to thank you again for the time this evening. We're very excited. We are anxious to get started. The sooner we get started, the sooner we can deliver what we're calling our new gateway. We're working diligently with staff to try to find a means where we can get started at no risk to the village and deliver a spectacular development for everybody. So thank you very much. The district has some people here, and I have our engineers here if there are any specific questions that I can't answer. But thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, sir. Now, Trustee Lang, you had a question.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. I'll start with well, actually, I'm going to start with the fact that we're tray tables up and electronics put away. At this point, when are you going to come to us again for the final? And the reason I'm asking that is, there's some of these materials or some of the drawings I saw, there does seem like there's a lot of questions still about will they all be finalized in a proper time? So how soon before you're going to come for your final?
I would say that in terms of the final, we have some final engineering to do, but we've agreed to, I believe, all of the stipulations of staff, and there are just questions related to, the siding color. That's an internal conversation. The brick, that's an internal conversation. The fence, that's a conversation that we can have with staff. We're happy to take that same white vinyl fence and put the lattice on top like we talked about at Plan Commission. We're happy to do that.
So are we talking 2 months?
I'd say less than 2 months. I'd say probably 45 days.
Okay, fair enough. And then, so someone else is building the townhomes as well. Will there be adjustments and changes to the design of those? Will there be something more finalized? Because, I mean, we didn't have the rear renderings in our packet at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering.
Yeah, no, so I'm sorry. The question is, will we have the final drawings?
Well, you have someone else doing the building.
Correct.
Are they going to submit drawings?
Yes, they'll submit drawings, and as I said, they've already submitted material palettes, so they'll continue to work with staff, kind of riding sidecar with us. So we're working more on the site design, they work on the architectural design, but they will submit, before we come again, they will have submitted, staff will have seen, reviewed, and signed off on their architecture. It won't be a set of building, it won't be the building plans where they could take it and get a permit, but it would be the final design.
Okay, there are some problem areas that we've had in the past with buildings, and I'm just bringing them forward so you guys can address it now as opposed to, I don't want it to be too late, kind of a thing. Gas meters and so on, and air conditioners, is that something, Mr. Clicker, that I might have missed it in the report because there was a lot in there.
Correct. And as Mr. Coleman alluded to, we have not seen the final design of I don't want to say the architectural, but the final aesthetic of what it will look like on the exterior. Air conditioning units, gas meters, and that are things that we're always looking for on those.
Great. And then I saw on one of the drawings that there was vinyl siding, and actually isn't our code masonry type, so hardy board type siding?
I believe that's just on the commercial aspect of it. The residential, I believe they can use some verticals or some vinyl siding, but I'll double check on that. If they need to use a hardy board material, we'll make sure they use that.
Because I really think I prefer the hardy board material, and Pat, if you can kind of pull the board later on that, if you don't mind, and ask if they agree to the same. I think the hardy board material holds up much better, and it stands the test of time, and I would be looking for that. Rear decks, it looked like you might do some sort of rear deck.
Correct.
As well. Then the fence area, would you consider a brown toned or earth tone type fence? Not wood, but a brown vinyl, if you're looking at vinyl.
Or a tan?
A tan or something brown toned.
We can explore that with staff. We're happy to explore that if that's important.
I think the white tends to be really stark looking and stands out.
Certainly, we could
way
do
too much.
We've been exploring different options, and we will be presenting some suggestions, if you will, to the petitioner as well. So,
I think that is all on the building right now, and I know where you guys are at, and it's I don't want to get into way deep, too many details on it. So just broad strokes on here. The bridge in the intersection you mentioned, is there any
that's something new to me, that was still a possibility. Is there a possibility that that bridge and intersection?
No.
Okay. So yeah, it's you've run into a wall with that?
We went down that path and we exhausted the conversations, and we're happy to be where we are today. So.
Where, just by chance, where did you run into issues with IDOT or?
There will be an issue with IDOT if you try to signalize Cedar because of the warrants with the next stoplight at Elmhurst. So that was going to be an issue. Then along with IDOT's signalization issues, then you have issues with the realignment of the exit for London. We didn't even get into this, but in this image that's up here on the screen, there's actually a curb cut immediately adjacent to London School's easternmost access point. We're abandoning that to avoid the conflict. So if you try to signal Cedar, then you have to realign the London School driveway, which then creates a whole nother issue. So it was an effort that we were asked to explore. We explored it. It was just filled with dead ends. So.
Fair enough. I appreciate that you put an effort into it. That I thought it was dead before, but you mentioned it again, so I had to ask about it. Then on to just briefly on the district building. It seems quite large to be right off of Dundee Road, a 3-story building like that. Walk us through the perspective of that. Is it going to be larger than life, close to Dundee Road, or will it?
No, it is, as I mentioned, we moved the properties closer to Dundee. So one of the issues that we had to incorporate into our design, and this picture shows it, is if you look at the perspective of Dunhurst Plaza relative to where our new buildings are going to be, our buildings were, in our initial plan, pulled forward of Dunhurst. And then to try to accommodate the village's new design, which is a great design of making the village more pedestrian friendly, we did pull them forward further, but they're still not up on the street. So we believe that there is an appropriate distance off of the street to receive a building of 3 stories. We don't think that it's not going to overpower the street. It's not going to be imposing. And it's the narrow portion of the building that's fronting Dundee. It's not the long portion of the building.
Okay, and so moving on to the retail portion, take care in the rear of the retail portion, because there is now, you're building residential back there, and if there was a way to finish it nicer or have sort of two fronts, if you would, because it'll be backed up to that residential, and it'd be nice to have it appealing to the residential side as well as the street side.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
And Area 4, you don't have a single user identified yet? Is that?
We have some people that we've had very preliminary conversations with, but as I mentioned, they want to know when they can get in the space. And until we have an approval and a more concrete timeline, it's difficult for us to get their interest.
And how about users for the shop, the center?
Same thing. We've had preliminary conversations with people.
Okay. And let me see. Let me just make sure I got everything. Lastly, if by any chance there's a snag in you starting construction on all this, we need to put something in place where the heavy equipment you can't winter another season with heavy equipment out there. I know I've answered a million questions from residents, very negative questions and comments about that equipment being out there as long as it had been, and I kept trying to reassure them that there's something going on there. It is going to be built, and it was a lot of pushback for residents to see all that equipment. And
times that by 7 of us up here, there was probably a lot of it. So if we can put something in place, just in case, I want you to get going,
Yeah.
as everyone else does, but we'll need to have something in place where that equipment isn't out there again. And that's all I had. I'm looking really forward to the next step, and please don't show us those buildings again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos, then Trustee Vogel.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
3.5 years we were all beginning to wonder, I think. I'm looking at your concept plan from January of 2018, and we had Building A, B, and C were commercial retail. Approximately, what was the square footage that you sold us on back then, and what are we getting now?
The square footage, I think that was close to maybe 38,000 square feet. And this is closer to 22,000 square feet. So there were two changes, I'd say, important architectural changes to those buildings from the retail standpoint, is that those two inline stores were pretty long. We thought that we had shortened them up, but they were still pretty long.
B and C?
B and C, yeah. So, and you might even have seen this in driving around, is sometimes those inline centers get even smaller, or they'll punch a hole through to facilitate almost looking like independent pads. And that's just the nature of how retailers like to position their properties today. So that when we made the change to make that building a little smaller, that was part of it. Then the other part of it was coming up with the other user, which was the District 21 administrative offices, which we think is going to be good for our retailers, because you're going to have daily people there. You know, we loved being close to the school anyway. We think that's great from a morning drop-off condition anyway, and an afternoon pickup. But when you add the other users that will be either in the district or at the community center, we think that's really good for our retailers.
Okay. And I'm not used to seeing quite this many conditions on a preliminary, to tell you the truth. I was pretty shocked that there were that many, but you're assuring us that they're not a problem and you're going to move forward on all of those, right?
Correct, they're not a problem, and I would say that many of them we've already agreed to. I believe the 8-foot walk is still on there.
Yeah.
Mr. Clicker, so that's something that we've already agreed to. It's a timing issue, I think.
Okay.
I think that's.
One of the things in that particular shopping center, especially the Dunhurst Shopping Center, and I kind of look at the whole thing as at Dunhurst, is the maintenance of the parking lot of the shopping center itself. Deplorable is the only word that comes to mind. What are your plans as the developer to make sure that this parking lot stays looking good at all times, that we don't have to beg you to restripe it, that we don't have to beg you to fill the potholes in? You know, all these things, I mean, as you said, it's a gateway to our town. We want it to look good at all times.
Yeah.
And
I would say the best thing I could suggest is look at the properties that Wingspan has developed or Nicholas and Associates has developed, and look at the quality of what was initially delivered, and look at the quality of it from a maintenance standpoint. And I think that our resume or reputation really answers that question. And I will be very happy when in 3 years and 5 years, you call me up and you say, you know what, you were absolutely right.
I hope I'm calling you in 15 years and saying
15,
that.
that's fine.
Those are,
That's
3-5 years, I would, if I'm not calling you then, there's a definite problem. But, things tend to wear and tear comes up. Can you go back to the townhome slide? And I'm sorry, sir, was it Mr. Nemmer? Yes. Thank you. You brought up a good point about snow removal and where you're going to put the snow.
I'll go all the way back to this one.
Yeah. Because you'll be clearing snow from the driveways.
Correct, we'll be clearing snow.
And where are you putting that snow?
Yeah, so on the end of each one of these motor courts, there's about 27 feet from the end of the motor court to the property line. So within here, we can do snow storage. We could do snow storage here. The other thing that we'll have the ability to do is this will, I imagine, be a single plowing contract between the commercial and the residential. So in terms of snow storage within the commercial, we can identify that also. And that's something that we would do with fire to make sure that where our proposed snow storage is does not interfere with their ability to get to the buildings and to get to the hydrants.
Right. I mean, because it is a problem, I happen to live right behind Astor Place, which this could have been the rear view. As a matter of fact, I took a picture of it and said, yeah, there it is. Same thing. And, watching where they put their snow is sometimes kind of funny, and they have big grassy areas, so it may be a problem. Right now, in order to enter Dunhurst Plaza, if you're going east, you turn into your driveway and then cut over, and you exit by Sherwin-Williams. So are you going to have that cross-access?
Yeah, we have an existing cross-access agreement with them.
So is it going to be the same thing?
Same thing, just that landscaped island will look much better.
Because nobody understands that. You never know where someone's going to turn in.
Yeah, and we'll improve the signage. We'll make that a safer intersection. And then the other thing that we're going to do, I don't know, let's see if it's hard to see, let's see. So one of the things we're doing is this curb line here, as this curb line is extended, this just becomes a more controlled access point. Right now, you turn that corner and you can go kind of wherever you want.
Right.
To the west. But by installing this curb line here, it will do two things. One, it'll direct traffic, but also will slow traffic. And then we have a stop bar here and a stop sign, and you either go left to Dunhurst or you go right into our property.
Okay. Because, I mean, for people who are shopping at that end of the shopping center, Sherwin-Williams or whatever, they tend to go down that way.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned 4.3 acres for compensatory?
Yeah, it's over 4 acres of, where's Matt? 4.5 acres of.
Thank you.
What's 4.5 acre feet of detention.
Thank you. What's required? Sorry.
I don't know, according to the revised MWRD standards, it's probably somewhere between 4 and 4.5.
So you're with.
We're
at least-
definitely meeting. Yeah, we're going to meet
or more.
all of the requirements of
Your
MWRD.
engineer is nodding back there. I just want to make
This is
sure.
Matt Shoemaker with Cage Engineering.
Thank you. Sorry.
Glad to be here. Thank you. Yes, we've had 3 or 4 calls with MWRD through the past 3 years, probably, so they're well aware of these improvements as we've gone through many discussions with them. So between the 3 detention basins, the 2 conventional above ground, as well as the underground system, we have about 4.5 acre feet of detention, and there's another 0.6 acre feet of what they call volume control. So there's over 5 acre feet of stormwater detention here. And as the site currently sits, there's 0 detention volume.
That was my next question. That's what I thought. So it's definitely going to be a major improvement.
Absolutely, yeah. If you look at the site as it sits right now, it's probably about 60% impervious area, mostly on the east side of the site. The west side is more open space. It's almost exactly the same impervious area with this site plan. It's just that it's more spread out. So you're going to have the same coverage and a lot more stormwater detention.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Dr. Connolly? Yes. Sorry, get my names right. Can you describe what the School District 21 building is going to be? I'm assuming it's not just administrative offices?
That's correct. We're actually very excited about the opportunity here. We have well outgrown our current administration center, the Gill Administration Center, and we also know that the needs of our residents, the needs of our families, continue to grow. So schools are no longer just schools, we're also social service agencies. We're also, we're really tying together a lot of the needs of our families. And so what we have is, I think, a really innovative design, that 3-floor design. The first floor is our community service center space. So when we say community center, we're not talking about holding youth groups and kind of people hanging out and, party rentals and things of that nature. That's not what we're talking about. That first floor, we are working with our partners like Omni, like the YWCA, like Hands On Suburban Chicago, to provide access to mental health services, to provide opportunities for, we're in conversations to provide some health services for our families in those locations. That's very preliminary. But we know that, we need to support the ability of our families to get their immunizations, to get their sports physicals, to be able to really increase their access so that they can keep coming to school. So that's really that first floor space, is all of those different types of kind of social service footprint. As we go up to the second floor, that's the administrative offices. So our business office, my office, our human resources office, really that area where we have completely outgrown. And if anybody has ever stepped foot into Gill and happens to be not mobile, you're kind of in for a rough ride, right? We've got multiple levels and we don't have elevators in there, so we have lifts and things of that nature. It is not a workable space, and we have absolutely outgrown it. We're on top of each other in there. So that will be the second floor. When we get up to the third floor, that is going to be where our boardroom is going to be. That is going to be classroom space, not child classroom space, but professional development space. That's going to be meeting space. So that's really going to be a lot of really good open area, a lot of versatile area. That we can hold our professional development sessions, that we can have community-based meetings, that we can, our partners on the first floor that need to, do their own training and things of that nature can access those spaces. The boardroom itself is dividable into 3 rooms. So when we're not having our full board sessions, and we're not putting permanent structures in, so we are able to really versatilely, set the rooms however we need to set them. So that's really going to be a really nice mixed, use learning meeting space up on that third floor. So that's really the layout of the building and kind of how we're intending to use it. And I think it's going to look amazing inside and out. I think it's going to be a really nice anchor for that area and provide a lot of good service for our community and for our families. So we're very excited about it.
How many District 21 employees do you have currently at the Gill Center?
So we are, and Michael, you can help me out here, we're at least, I would say 70 in terms of support staff as well as administration and so on and so forth in the various areas. Also, that's stretching back. Of course, we've got our operations center back there and things of that nature. What we're talking about doing is basically retiring the front half of Gill, which is that oldest section. Our operations center and such will, of course, continue to be where it is as you head back towards the park over there at London. So we're also going to be looking at our space usage on the second floor of Hawthorne, which of course is the early childhood center. You don't put little kids on second floors, right? So we have a lot of space there that we think we could be using better. And so there will be a portion of our administrative team, mostly our teaching and learning teams, our directors and so on and so forth, that we'll also have some, housed over at Hawthorne. So our entire administrative footprint is not going to be just in that one second floor of the building. But again, our business office.
I'm asking because of parking. So
yes,
that's where
right, of course.
I'm kind
and
of coming from.
So I think the parking that we have there is going to certainly be plenty on a day-to-day basis. And so if you think about it, when you think about the London site, probably 3/4 of that parking in front of London is London staff.
Okay.
About 1/4 all the way over towards the eastern edge is district office staff, and then of course around the side is a very small number of parking spaces, which I never get. so I always have to park far away and walk in. And so we're very comfortable with having, not taking up all of those 100 and whatever spaces that are there.
So your staff could still use the London?
And our staff could still use it, right. And I think that's one of the other things that's important. If you take a look at the site, there's a walkway on the south end of that building. So if we did have any, so for when we have our professional development, meetings, they can park in the London site and walk right over. So we don't really feel like there's going to be any major issue with being able to make sure that we're providing enough parking for the retail, that's over there as well, so.
And the first floor, the community service area, that would be year-round, yes?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We want that space to be as actively used as possible. Now, obviously, it's going to, there's going to be some times, particularly in the summer, where, it might be a little less, in and out. I would say also the thing to keep in mind is because we're talking about a lot of access to mental health services, to family counseling, things of that nature, that use is probably going to be much more in the late afternoon and evening hours when our administrative offices are already closed, right? So just because that's the nature of when people are going to be seeking family counseling and having those types of group, therapy sessions and things of that nature. So we anticipate there to be a nice exchange of flow so that there's not going to be, an overcapacity of people in the building using all of, those locations at the same time.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I really wasn't sure what was going on with the building overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we're excited. It's going to be really a great concept for us.
And once final PUD goes through, how long will it take you to be up and operating? Because I'm making a wild assumption that that's the first thing we're looking at.
Correct. We are, and again, Michael DiBartolo, my Assistant Superintendent for Finance, can speak to this as well. I mean, we would love to be in there before the end of 2022. So, if we're able to, if the site work is able to begin, we're ready to go with our bid packages, our designs. Our architects are here. We've already been working very closely with Nicholas, who are our construction managers. So, we're ready to go to bid this fall. And the only thing that I'll say is, just like anything else, the bid climate is somewhat unpredictable right now. I think things are settling down a little bit, and we, what we're seeing, we look pretty, we feel pretty comfortable with. But if the bids come in, 40% higher than what, they have predicted, we're going to need to have some conversations about, timeline and to see when things kind of settle down. We do have a budget that we're sticking within. But again, we're pretty confident that that's not going to be something that is going to impair us. And so, we'd like to break ground and have all of you there, this fall, October and maybe November if we need to. And again, moving my office in there by the end of 2022.
Are you getting your own parking place?
We're talking about that. No, that's how people like me get fired.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Mr.
absolutely.
Coleman, what is your timeline on this project?
Our timeline in terms of final approvals, what I alluded to earlier, is to go back, do the last steps that we need to do in terms of the engineering, and then come back before you in the next 30 to 60 days, get final PUD approval. We're working with staff for what's sometimes considered an early start. MWRD has that in their process. A lot of municipalities have that in their process, where it gives the developer the ability to move forward with certain limited aspects of work at risk. So if anything was to happen, we have to return it back to the condition it was before we started. And that would allow us to start with some tree removal, grading, put the silt fence up, remove that old parking lot, and then, we're going to be talking with staff about the location of the Ryan Homes model, which I can tell you is the building furthest to the west, right around the corner there. That's the one that they're going to want for their model home building, and then the district building. So some of the things that you can have certain components of the construction starting and running simultaneously. provided the plans are approved. So as long as the village, Public Works, and Engineering has accepted, the plans and the layout is dialed in, then other things can begin. But we want to be in the ground this fall.
Okay.
We've been, as you know,
Right.
the water's been boiling for a while. We got to
You
put the
think?
pasta in.
What about the retail aspect?
The retail
commercial.
aspect, we'd like to start as soon as possible. That's going to be really up to Patrick and I, finding the users.
So you need a user before,
We need at least one user.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Papantos. Trustee Vogel, the preliminary review questions, you'll be followed by trustee Rufato.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Conley answered most of my questions about what was going to be housed in the new building, especially the community center. One other question I had is the underground detention. How deep is that? And what's the structure made of, for my information? Is it concrete steel or is it concrete?
There is a concrete vault system, there's
Right.
concrete pipe, there's other systems. The biggest thing that we have to do from an engineering standpoint is, one, meet the capacity, and then two, make sure that it can carry the load of what's driving on top of it.
Okay.
So you can use different materials. If it's in a landscaped area, than you could use in a parking lot. So it's going to have to be pretty structurally sound.
Okay.
We don't want to have any future maintenance issues.
Right. I've seen it already for like soccer fields, baseball fields,
Yeah.
but never a large parking lot, especially with traffic coming in and out, the way it may be coming in and out. The other question, Lot 2 and Lot 3 are building A and B. What's the distance between those, approximately?
Between the future on Lot 4,
No, Lot 2 and Lot 3.
between these two,
Yeah, what's the distance? The reason I'm asking is, are they close enough that if a restaurant wanted to come in and get a liquor license, would it create a problem because there's a school building, so-called school building there? Or is that administration building not part of the laws?
I'd have to take a look at that specifically. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to research that
Okay.
for the distance, the requisite distance between a school and a liquor serving establishment, and whether or not the administration building would qualify.
Falls into that category? Okay.
If I might, our understanding of school code is, which obviously is its own animal besides municipal code, is that, this building is not considered a school. There are not going to be student-based educational activities that are occurring within that structure. So, and we'll certainly reach out to our Regional Office of Education, which is our kind of regulatory authority as well, and confirm that. But we don't anticipate that there would be any issue there because it's not a center of attendance for students.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm hoping that we'll end up with a sit-down restaurant in there, and if we do, they may want a liquor license. Be easier to get one in. All right, thank you.
Thank you, trustee Vogel. Trustee Rufato?
Thank you. A lot of my questions are around the landscaping, and actually, the first, one of the conditions, Mr. Clicker, you talked about was the 10-foot sidewalk, and the way this reads, said it'd be widened. To me, that means we're going to add something to it. I assume you're replacing the existing sidewalk with a 10-foot sidewalk, or? Yes.
8-foot sidewalk.
8-foot sidewalk,
Yeah.
replacing, not widening, you're replacing.
We'll work with the applicant on that. If there are sections that are new, and can be adequately added onto. But I agree with you that the vast majority of it is most likely going to have to be replaced, if not all.
Well, I think it'd be easier if you just took everything out and replaced it with the applicable sidewalk, instead of trying to piecemeal things together. And then Trustee Lang talked about the commercial property, the retail property backing up and making that look nice, for the residents. Could you possibly strengthen the landscaping behind it either closer to the buildings or closer on the other side of the planting area. You see, the landscape plan that I have here doesn't have calipers, quantities. All I see are nice little circles. I didn't think they did unless I missed them. So to strengthen that, to improve that, making bigger caliper trees so they grow quicker, so the residents don't see the back of the retail property.
I think we're open to explore that. One of the things we talked about in the Plan Commission, as it's specifically related to the fence, was putting additional landscaping on the north side of the fence, which would be the commercial side. I think that's the same thing you're talking about, and we're happy to do that. We will add that. Well, I'll stipulate that we'll add additional landscaping on the north side of the fence.
And then to that point, along Norman, the landscaping.
Yeah, so, okay, that's a great point, and I apologize, I didn't mention that. So if you, along Norman, those homes, there's some mature landscaping in there that's nice. There's also a lot of underbrush and overgrowth. So our plan is to go in and clean out that underbrush and overgrowth and then replace it with nice plantings that can then be maintained.
Right, nice plantings and bigger starting calipers for trees so they mature quicker, so the residents on Norman aren't seeing, it's a softer look for that. I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Great, thank you. And so continuing on the landscaping, so this landscape plan here that you have, it includes the school district. Are they agreeable to this landscape plan that's going here? Is this going to continue on with the school district?
Yes, the plan that you're seeing today is what they've incorporated in their plan.
Okay, and then is this all irrigated?
It's all irrigated.
Okay, so including the school district irrigation?
Including the school district.
And then once you hand this over to the school district, I assume their operations team, their maintenance team is going to maintain all of this?
Correct, for their own property. Then there'll be common area that's maintained collectively, and then there'd be a cam share.
Okay.
Like a normal center.
Great, okay, thank you. And what I thought about it as I was reviewing this, and then you were talking about it because you talked about you're going to have cross-access agreements with the school district for retailers to use that parking and vice versa. And maybe this is a question for Dr. Connolly. Do we anticipate people dropping off their kids in this parking lot and then walking them over? I just thought about that as looking at this plan here, because you do have a walkway there.
Yeah, no. So the simple answer to that is no. The more detailed answer is that once we are occupying the site, we will be very, very closely monitoring the traffic flow on that side of our, on the side of our administration center. And if we have any indication that there are parents that are dropping kids off in front of the administration center to walk over to London, my London principal will be finding who those people are and having some very specific conversations about why that is not allowed. So I can't guarantee that nobody will try it. What I can tell you is we won't let it go. That is a safety issue. There is a place for London students that are being dropped off, and we will make sure that parents are adhering to that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Trustee Rufato. Trustee Kruger?
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Connolly. Appreciate it. I've listened to my colleagues, and quite a bit of my questions were covered. I did want to just give you a few comments. I did watch the Plan Commission meeting of the 11th, and I was very pleased to hear from our engineering team that their review of the stormwater detention is okay in the eyes of MWRD, and that you guys are doing quite a bit in the way of detention, both underground and with your detention. So, great, thanks. I'll split my questions, or what's left of my questions, into 3 segments. So on the residential, I appreciate that the 5-foot sidewalk continuing from the south side of Jenkins Court is going through your southern private street within the residential element. Why is the north sidewalk of Jenkins not being extended in the same way? And I did write a note that you said that it's because there's nobody that lives east of there on the north side of the street. I'm thinking more as a resident in the townhome and as a pet owner. I want to walk my dog. I'm going to walk out the courtyard, and I have to cross the street to pick up an east-west sidewalk so that I can go walk my dog. And then I'm thinking about it in the winter. And when there's no sidewalk either on the north or south sides of units 1 through 6. So I'm just wondering about that 5-foot sidewalk being extended on the north side of that street too.
It's a great question. There's really 2 reasons. One is that what you mentioned is that there's no existing residential on Jenkins as you move to the east.
Right, there's a church and...
The church and then a restaurant. So they're not generating any foot traffic there. So we believe that we can satisfy the existing residents to the south along the south side of Jenkins. We also think that given the limited amount of what we perceive will be foot traffic within the neighborhood, what's called sometimes a single loaded carriage walk is sufficient. The other thing it allows us to do is it allows us to put more green in. It may not seem like much, but that sidewalk continuing along the north side of Jenkins is just more hardscape. It's more hard surface.
Understood, thank you. There was some talk about the fence and the separating the residential from the commercial. I appreciate that, and I recognize that you're agreeing to dress up that vinyl fence with either a lattice plastic on top or some landscaping on the north side of it, but to me, it's still just a big white plastic fence. So I would prefer a separation barrier to be something that's functional, decorative, and incorporate perhaps facade elements from the residential and the commercial aspects of the total site to somehow bring some continuity to that fence and give it a little bit more of a feel. So I encourage you to, like you've agreed, to continue to work with staff on that. I was originally worried about a departure of 50 parking spaces and that being concerning to me, and that I was looking forward to the parking study that you guys are going to present at final. But then I realized that as I look at your plan, you mentioned a cross-access agreement and that people can park in both areas at the District 21 building and the retail. But the District 21 building has what looks like the bulk of the parking spaces on the entire lot. I'm just wondering, will there be signage or something to sort of help people who want to come just to the retail to understand that they can in fact go park over there?
I think that without it being signed, it'll just feel that way. I don't know that it'll feel that you need permission to park anywhere. You know, if you're parking, I don't know if you can see this plan that's up here right now, but if you want to go, here's our magical Chipotle. If you want to go to this Chipotle and you park here, I don't think you'll think twice about.
Oh, no, I'm definitely an ask for forgiveness and not permission kind of gal. I'll go park where I want to park.
Yeah.
But I just, it just seemed to look like there was a lot more of the parking dedicated to the, and I don't want to say it's dedicated because there's cross-access agreements, but the look and feel is that that's the school district buildings parking, and so I'm just curious.
We do, another thing, it's a little bit hard to see on here, and I don't know if you can see it in the plans in your packet, but we do have cross-hatched pedestrian markings all through the sidewalk here.
Okay.
So we try to, as much as possible, connect, and this would go all the way to the building that's not shown on Lot 4, to show that everything in there is connected.
Okay.
For multiple reasons, but not least of which is we want the people in the D21 building to know that they can safely travel across the parking lot and come get their burrito.
Yep, that's great. At the PC meeting on the 11th, you mentioned that masonry that looks like metal. And but when I looked at my commercial elevation drawing in our packet, it shows a lot of that to be metal panels of one kind or another on a good portion of the, front facade of that building. Can you explain from a design, installation, maintenance, and cost perspective perhaps, what is this metal or masonry that looks like metal?
So the metal, that's also a great question. So there's several manufacturers that have products, one of which is Hardy. So we have used the Hardy product before in both the wood grain and the metal look. And to the naked eye, you cannot tell that it's not wood.
But it is a cement board product.
It's cement board.
But it looks like metal.
Looks like metal.
So those samples, I can't wait to see those.
Yeah, you know what? I would rather than giving you a sample, I'll give you some addresses.
Go.
Because that's better. Well, you can go to Maple Street Lofts in downtown Mount
Okay, so
Prospect.
Maple Street Lofts lose the
Yeah.
same thing?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I want to see that. That would be
Yeah.
good.
Maybe if you could pass them on to staff,
Yeah,
and we can get
Yeah.
it sent to us.
Yeah, that'd be great, because I'd like to,
Yeah.
and I even asked the question of staff, has this material that you speak of used elsewhere in the village, because, I don't
Yeah.
recognize it.
I can't speak to if it's been used in the village or not, but I know that it provides a lot of benefits, not least of which is longevity. It's
And
got a
I'm
very
sure-
nice lifespan.
I'm sure staff will make sure that you're, abiding by our design and our code requirements. And then there's been talk about retail interest in the site. You're not going to get rolling on that until you've got some approvals, right? I mean, so you really don't have any butts to put in the seats yet, right? So,
I just have a list of names,
okay.
so hopefully I'm calling them tomorrow morning.
Good luck, because I mean, honestly, the renderings of the buildings, especially the District 21 building, is a beautiful building, and I can appreciate the work that staff did and that you guys and the school district agreed to help, bring that building to life. It really is a stunning-looking building.
Thank you,
just
thank you.
from
That's the Archon team that's here tonight. They did a really nice job.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to landing this plane. So thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, trustee Kruger. Yeah, I was going to say, you're the only one.
Yeah, I have a question. So what was the genesis of getting District 21 in? Because to me, I guess I'm the only one here that's got a little issue with them kind of being in this private enterprise. Why not just ask for a subdivision and a complete sale to them, as opposed to now they're paying CAM charges, you're splitting plowing fees, you're doing all this stuff with a public entity. It just seems like it doesn't fit, and it sounds like you're going to ask for TIF. So now we're going to subsidize some of this with increment financing, which I don't think there's going to be any increment in a public building. And saying all that, I think that building looks awesome. I'm not worried about what Trustee Lang was saying. I think that'd be really cool coming down Dundee Road. I just don't get how this all came about or why. It just doesn't seem to square the circle with me.
Well, with any individual development, you're trying to find users, the best users possible, so that you, most importantly, fill it. The last thing that we want is to deliver, like our previous plan, 40,000 square feet of retail space and end up with 16,000, 20,000 square feet empty. That doesn't help anybody. So what we try to do is we try to look at the opportunities that we have. We have to look what's reality, what can we deliver, and what can we deliver that is complementary. So just like we put the townhomes on the lower portion of the site, the whole property was 11.5 acres of retail. That's too big. There's nothing you can really do. So how do we take the site and maximize the value? So we look at the D21 building as a great complementary use to our retail.
Okay, and so what's the relationship going to be between them and, say, the HOA?
There'll be a party to the document. There'll be a party to the reciprocal easement and cross-access agreement.
And the same with the businesses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll both be parties to egress, parking, and stormwater. And the townhomes will be everything but parking. There'll be egress because they can't prevent people from coming from the shopping center through on Jenkins, and there'll be party for stormwater.
Yeah, I mean, that just seems weird to me. So the superintendent's going to be at the HOA meetings talking about, who's not moving the garbage
He
out
might
of the
even be
hallways and
president.
stuff.
He might be
Well,
president.
whatever, not the hallways, but whatever. I mean.
He's a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy, but I mean, it just seems weird to me now we're going to have a superintendent in an HOA meeting when people are talking about trash
It's not,
bins and stuff.
that's a great question, because the HOA will be responsible just for the maintenance of the townhome area. There's another agreement that would only be the representative of, for an example, the president of the HOA would be participating in a question about the allocation of the expenses related to clearing the storm traps, things like that. It's not a meeting where you would invite homeowners to attend. It's not that kind of meeting. You wouldn't invite all the commercial users to attend.
And the property, the district property is going to be deeded to the district, correct? It's not going to be a lease?
Correct, that'll be deeded to the district.
Okay.
And then we imagine that Lot 4 will be deeded to that user, and Lot 3 will be a single owner with multiple tenants.
Okay. It seems weird to me, but it looks nice. So I'm conflicted, to be honest with you. Jim, have you ever heard of a school district being in this type of agreement?
I don't think it's typical, but it's not, there's nothing that would prohibit it. I haven't seen it, but again, legally, it doesn't run afoul of anything.
Okay.
Breaking new ground.
I suppose.
Trend setting.
Okay, earlier in the meeting, earlier in this issue, I'm sorry, Trustee Lang asked if I wanted to poll the board about their opinions on vinyl versus the hardy board, the concrete board. Do you still want that, Trustee Lang?
Yes, sir.
Does so the question would be then, does the board have a preference of vinyl versus hardy? Well, wait, the first question might be, Mr. Ferrolo, do we have authority to enforce an opinion like this?
Well, we could add a condition to the PUD ordinance.
Okay.
Once you get a consensus.
Okay. So, question is, does the board have a preference of vinyl versus hardy board, and if so, what? Trustee Rufato?
Hardy board.
Trustee Kruger?
Some kind of concrete board, yeah.
Concrete board. Trustee Lang?
Yes, Hardy.
Hardy board. Trustee Vito?
I'd prefer it, but I'd like to get a check on what the code is from Director Clicker. If it's permissible, I think we're kind of in a box, right? To use it as a condition?
Right. We can research it, and I can have definitely an answer for you by the final, but I believe the only stipulation we have regarding materials is on commercial buildings.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would like it, but if it's not, if it's in the code that they can use it, then I can't ask
We
them
can't
to.
prohibit it?
Right. So I guess a no on that?
Yeah, either way.
Unless I know what the code is.
I don't know.
So I don't
That's
know.
why we have-
I'll abstain until I
That's
know
why
what
we
the
have
code is.
Trustee Papantos?
I have no preference.
Trustee Vogel?
Hardy board,
Hardy
if it's permissible.
I would go with whatever code permitted. What's the count?
It's,
4 for hardy board.
yeah.
4 for hardy board. Well, if it's permissible to require it, I guess we're going to require it then.
And if the motion to approve the ordinance should add condition number 19 to revise the elevations on the townhomes to change the vinyl siding to hardy board, if allowed by
If code permitted. So then, if everyone's done, I have, and even if you're not, so we have, Maisha, I get to be ringmaster. So far we have satisfied condition number 1, and condition number 16 has been removed. Is that correct, Mr. Clicker?
Correct. 16 has already been satisfied, yes.
So can we just leave them in for the purposes of making this easier and not?
Yeah. Condition
they've already
16
been
is stricken
satisfied.
from the documentation that's in front of you. The other ones, like I said, we just want to, that one last check of the i's and t's to make sure everything is addressed.
President Horker, we can
Yes.
ask Mr. Coleman, is there any objection to converting to hardy board from the vinyl siding?
We would prefer to follow the code. When we do an analysis, when anybody does an analysis of coming into a municipality and putting together their budgets, they analyze the code and they say, okay, these are the expectations of the village. This is what the village or city has put forward as their design standards. We're going to meet those design standards. So they build their budgets accordingly. Our biggest concern is that the property looks good and lasts. And I think that, vinyl, on the slide itself, it even showed the gauge of the vinyl to show that it was a thicker vinyl than you might have been exposed to in the past. It's a nice vinyl. It will wear well. The color will wear well. It'll perform nicely. And to switch to stucco or to hardy board, I don't know that cost, but I know that there's a cost. And I know that Ryan didn't include that in their calculations because the code says something different.
I think the condition that I articulated for the motion still works.
With pending code.
Correct.
Okay. So we'll, given the preference of the board, we will add condition 19 as outlined by trustee Ferrolo.
Sure. I haven't earned that.
How was the election?
Yeah.
Very difficult.
I heard that as it was coming out my mouth. Been a night for those for me.
One more comment.
Sir, yes.
The resident talked about the lighting and the light pollution. Can that possibly be looked at as to what I know you're going to do one of the light studies and.
Yeah, a complete photometric study?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for that. I think that would be helpful too.
Yeah, that's something that we are obligated and agree to
Right.
provide to staff.
Thank you.
Then, if all questions have been satisfied by the board, and you're slightly anxious about the vinyl, I know, but that's going to be that. I need a motion to approve as amended with with condition 19.
So moved.
Motion trustee Lang. Is
Second.
that trustee Rufato? Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you. We have the plat.
G.
We need G.
Jay, stay there.
I just turned the page. I have the script. Item G. Can you read it? What is it? It's on two different pages. So I also need a motion approving preliminary plat of subdivision with the proposed preliminary planned unit development for a mixed-use development, London Crossings at 889 through 903 West Dundee Road, as written.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Rufato gets the motion, trustee Vogel gets the second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, there you go.
Thank you very much. We are really excited.
See you in a couple of years.
Thank you.
Item H.
Resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a contract with the Lakota Group regarding the Wheeling Restaurant Row corridor study.
Mr. Spondilis.
Thank you very much. Before you this evening is a contract with the Lakota Group to execute a restaurant row corridor study. Typically, a contract like this would appear on our consent agenda, but because this is such an important thing for our community, I wanted to make sure that we talked about it at least a little bit. Again, this is just approving a contract, so this is the very, very, very beginning stage of an important project. Director Ainsworth will provide a little bit of detail as far as exactly what is contained in the project and what the Lakota Group will be tasked with. But I wanted to talk just for a minute to remind the public and the board how significant this project is, in that when the village approved its most recent strategic plan, not only did we revamp all of the existing goals and objectives of the plan, we added 3 high-stakes strategies. We created them and added them to the document, and the first of those 3 high-stakes strategies was identified as Restaurant Row, and the opportunity was identified as bridging the historic connection to future growth. And I just wanted to read what we have as the mission statement for this particular initiative as we talk about what this project entails. Wheeling has had the reputation of a world-class restaurant row along Milwaukee Avenue, anchored by destination restaurants, which has been a main source of pride. The evolution of Restaurant Row to what it is today provides an opportunity to focus on the corridor from Hints to Lake Cook Road in order to support existing and attract new restaurants that will continue to contribute to Wheeling's positive reputation. It is a priority for Wheeling to ensure that Restaurant Row remains a source of pride. That's very general. And specifically, the Lakota group is going to be looking at a number of ways to capture growth, but also make sure that we build on the history that we've created. One of those ideas that we've been talking about for years is the idea of a Riverwalk. And what I had suggested last year during the budget meeting was we need to finally answer the question once and for all, is there potential for a Riverwalk in this town? And part of this study is going to answer that question. It is not the focus of the study, as Restaurant Row is much bigger than just a Riverwalk. So as we go into the contract, and I will turn it over to Director Ainsworth, I just wanted to make sure that we were setting the stage appropriately for exactly what this is, how important it is, and how much effort the village, its consultants, the public are going to have in recreating the historical Restaurant Row. So with that, Director Ainsworth.
Thank you, Manager Spondilas. So immediately after the strategic plan was adopted by Village Board back in March, staff had created an RFP, a request for a proposal, from a multitude of consultants. We call this a one-of-a-kind multidiscipline plan. I know it's a mouthful, but really we know that this area is special for us. We really wanted to make sure we emphasize the placemaking, the public spaces, the private side, the economic development strategies, et cetera. So staff did send out this request for proposal to numerous consultants. We posted on appropriate websites, and we had a significant return, a lot of interest, 11 proposals. Generally speaking, for something of this size, we'll get 3, 4, 5. We had calls from outside of the state, from the East Coast, and in the other cities in the Midwest. So a lot of people know that Milwaukee Avenue is very special, and so we did a very thorough analysis of all of these requests for proposals and a lot of reading. We narrowed it down to 4 finalists, interviewed them, and staff, along with Director Kaup, Director Clicker, Assistant Village Manager Crotty, and Finance Director Kaplan, we interviewed those 4 consultants and unanimously chose the Lakota group. They have a very unique approach to urban design spaces that I think the group will talk about tonight, and they'll introduce the 4 other sub-consultants. They will be the lead on this project. We had 3 components that we want them to attain, and which I'm just going to read real quick from the memo, which is create an effective branding, streetscape, and placemaking framework to help enhance Restaurant Row so people know I am clearly driving down Wheeling's Restaurant Row. We also are going to ask them to provide specific economic development strategies to market Restaurant Row, fill vacant restaurant spaces, and attract more guests to this area. The strategies identified should support and not cannibalize the market and detract from otherwise our existing restaurant base. And again, we are acknowledging that it's near the Des Plaines River. A lot of our restaurants are abutting up to it. So we want to take advantage and see how can we, within practicality, assess the feasibility of a Restaurant Row, or, excuse me, a Riverwalk, or come up with some alternatives for placemaking opportunities. So with that, I would like to introduce Kevin Clark, the principal of Lakota Group, and Mike Christman, assistant principal or associate principal. And by the way, I'm just going to put Mike on the fence here real quick. He was actually part of London Middle School's first graduating class. So just wanted to mention real quick. So I think this is like full circle for you tonight, Mike.
Yeah, I grew up off Dundee, just over the border in Buffalo Grove, first graduating class, and actually an experience with a Wheeling planner as a 7th grader, designing the rest of the grounds there and thinking about it was kind of what got me on the career path, was me here. I noted, Kevin, that pile there on the west side was still there at the time, so it's kind of exciting and interesting to see all that come full circle.
We should talk after the meeting. My wife was also a first graduate of London Middle School. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you remember the Sears store?
I don't. I remember it was a while ago.
It was a Sears outlet.
Well, we appreciate the time tonight. I promise to be brief. We have a few slides to introduce ourselves, introduce the process, talk about a little bit about what we think success is in this project. First, I'll just start off with our team, the Lakota team. We've been around for 28 years. We're urban planners, landscape architects, community engagement specialists that work all over the country, but really focused regionally. We've been all over the suburbs. We're familiar with the Chicagoland area. We're based in Chicago. We're a small boutique design office. So I myself am a planner and landscape architect. Mike is also a landscape architect and planner. We have a host of landscape architects. Our president, Scott Ferris, grew up really close to here too in Northbrook, so he's really familiar with the area and will be involved in the project. And the team that you see here with other folks will be involved in running the process. Patrick had mentioned that we do have some sub-consultants on our team. This is because this is a really comprehensive look at Restaurant Row, at something that needs to think about comprehensively, right? So on our team we have Space Co., they're civil engineers, helping us interface with IDOT. We are talking about IDOT roadway. As we come up with urban design concepts, we want to make sure we're being realistic. Engineers are really good at putting the governor on landscape architects and designers' dreams. So we always want to be realistic, right? So being able to interface with IDOT and other agencies is really important. Seabell is also a civil engineering company. They'll be helping us look at the wetland and floodway assessment as far as it relates to the river and the property. I want to make sure we are being feasible as we think about ideas and ways to connect to the river. Hoffman Strategy Group is a national real estate market analysis firm, and they'll help look at the really specifically at Restaurant Row and what's happening with the existing businesses, thinking about strategies to improve that, and really dialing in with us to help figure out ways to make sure that the next iteration, and as we think about it in the future, it's adapting. And Metro Strategies they're going to help define a really robust funding strategy for this. When you look at a corridor plan of this nature, there are a lot of ways to fund different initiatives, and there are a lot of ideas that should come out of this. So we want to make sure that we're being smart about that. When you start talking about river property or other property, there may be grants that we can apply for, and they'll help tee that up for us as we start to come up with ideas and things that people like to see. A little bit about our process. So we frame this in 3 phases. The first phase is engage and discover. That's where we're getting our feet under us, understanding the existing property and the corridor conditions and the site areas that we're talking about. That's also when we start to engage the stakeholders, and that's everybody from business and property owners, village leaders, to residents that are interested. And we'll talk a little bit about how we do that along the way. And that just gives us a foundation for building the plan. And the second phase is called Envision and Explore. Well, that's where we'll just come up with a lot of ideas. So we hear about the issues and opportunities. We want to bring ideas to the public and ideas to the group that we can get responses to, and that's where we start to refine things in that third phase, and really linking those priorities and the ideas that people like to strategies, and prioritize those in a time frame. So as we start to look at urban design, that'll be, when we talk about that in placemaking, we talk about streetscape and the public realm and the property that you may own, the corridor and river connections and options to address that and bring all of that together. And so we'll come up with kind of this range of ideas and then establish a toolkit that can be applied to either specific areas, or if there are kind of corridor-wide strategies that we can look at. We want to put costs to that, so we have some realistic costs
and that could be put into budgets or think about funding. And as we think about ideas for, whether it's physical improvements and how those life cycle costs may work out or different options, and then really aligning it again with the funding tools and strategies overall. And big part of this is engaging people, and this is a hallmark of what we do. We have a number of strategies for doing that. Some of that is traditional engagement. The folks that come to these types of meetings love that kind of traditional engagement. I'd say over the past year, we've been challenged to do what we normally do really well, which is in-person listening and talking. And we've adapted pretty well with different tools online, and if we have to, we can do that. So we're ready to adapt. We're a very flexible group, and one of the first things we're going to do when we engage in this is to figure out an engagement strategy that's worked for you in the past or for staff in the past. And we just show some of these ideas where we've done pop-up workshops where we're literally engaging people where they're shopping or dining maybe. We like to bring local food to our workshops, so what's a better way to do that with Restaurant Row when you've got all these great restaurants? So trying to figure out a way to get people to come out. We like to do interactive things. We've done murals, we've done public art with different groups, engaging different populations of people. We want to make sure that we aren't just getting the people that always come to meetings, but also somehow getting people, maybe the younger people that have kids at a soccer game that have trouble making it to a meeting. So how can we do that? So we do a lot of social media as well. So that's a big part of this conversation. And to us, just a few things about how we think this would be a successful project. We want to create a plan and a strategy that's realistically achievable. All of the pictures you see are things that we've designed and have happened. So as we come up with plans and strategies, we want to make sure that it can ultimately be achieved. Otherwise, you have another plan that's going on a shelf, and that's just not what we want to do. We want to make sure we find what's unique about Wheeling and the ideas that can differentiate you. You have a brand, Restaurant Row. I mean, this guy's been talking about it. He knew about it. People know about it, but we need to think about how do we re-inject a little life into that as part of the process? How do we think about the next iteration of it and really make it about your context and about Wheeling? We want to make sure there's public buy-in and excitement, and that's why we engage people along the way, and we continue to engage them. We want there to be that sense of pride in your village, in anything that's created. We know that this will be an incremental or phased approach. Things that come out of these plans don't just happen all at once, but we'll help break that down into timeframes so that it can happen and it's digestible. And as we think about design, such as streetscape or public places or placemaking, we think about programming and marketing, so we want to have a set of strategies that go with that, because that's what puts the life into a place. It's not just about doing a design of a cool place and just walking away. You have to think about how it's programmed over time, maybe year-round, just to support the village over the course of the life of forever, really. A couple more here. Thinking about the potential for funding and revenue generation as we think about marketing strategies and improving the Restaurant Row's brand, and consistency in urban design character. To me, there's a way to bring a new character to Milwaukee Avenue. There are strategies that we can use and designs that we can do to help make that feel more consistent, feel like it's Wheeling. And thinking about how we can diversify our services, our tax base, and really engaging all the folks in your community, and really getting that ongoing community support over time. That's kind of a high-level synopsis of our approach, and I guess we can answer questions, but I'll just end by saying we're really excited about this project.
Trustee Lang.
So, I don't know what's wrong with Trustee Lang tonight, but he's got another one. So, I'm thinking about this fantastic opportunity, and I can't wait till we get into it.
But I think we're missing a small portion of Milwaukee Avenue that could have some future potential, and that's border to border, going all the way to the airport, to our border there on Tower Road, if you would. What's the potential of including that space? Because there are a lot of older buildings that front Milwaukee Avenue right there. We have the new gas station and Cousin Subs right there. There could be some opportunity for us to even expand that footprint. I know it's hard enough to work with what we got, but this might be a good opportunity to take that entire portion and brand it accordingly and encourage some build out there, as opposed to just leaving this, you know, whatever it looks like right now, half industrial, half commercial, and so on.
Yeah, we can cross Hintz Road. We define the borders, so there's no issue with that at all. So, yes.
Consider
Absolutely.
yourself expanded.
If I may add real quick, the timeline, we're looking to do phase one this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Farrell or Manager First, Sfondilis, sorry. If maybe we approach that as a change order to try and potentially gauge the contract tonight. Because yes, the term I believe of this contract is from what designated boundary we had set up previously.
But we could do, I mean, I'd like to hear from the gentleman, but we can do an updated proposal, you know, it's not a change order per se.
Yeah,
it's like
I mean,
a construction contract.
would you consider moving the southern border 2 blocks south?
Honestly, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the area necessarily. I appreciate that, Patrick, because sometimes these things grow, but I'm not really worried about the area, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's just, once we get into it, we start to understand if there are history of certain sites. Is this a redevelopment site? Is there a market for things to happen? Plus, the urban design things, the streetscape things, I think a lot of that can be applied or extended in some way. If we're talking about consistency and branding, I think we can easily do that. So I'm really not worried about that.
It'd just be nice to drive into Wheeling and know that you've hit it, and you don't have to go through a spot of unbranded area.
Right.
So, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Nobody.
No, excellent. It's an excellent plan.
Yeah, at this point, just a contract. So, yep.
Excellent plan, addressed well.
All right. I actually had a few questions that answered themselves as I was proceeding through this. Like my note on the first page here is, what is a geofence? And then when I read how it was done, I figured that out later on. There was a couple of other technical things that there were some new terms, placemaking.
Planners like jargon. Yes, placemaking, making a place better, right? It could be through public art, it could be through new branding, it could be through all the streetscape things that happen together.
I learned a lot of fascinating new jargon.
I'll add about the geofencing. It speaks to Hoffman Strategy Group's approach and expertise and how they're looking kind of new technology, emerging technology and trends and lumping that all together. And it also goes back to the point of, traditional engagement. Are we getting everyone, this is a destination, or are we getting people outside the village boundaries? Really, that's what we're trying to bring into.
It did worry me a bit, like when I finally figured out what it was. Is this like when you've got little receivers scattered around that are just like pinging, like who walking past and where are they from?
The way it works is it's already happening. So it's your phone and everything around us is tracking us at all times, and people are able to go back later and say who is crossing through an area. It's all aggregated data, as I understand it. So it's not your personal information, but they can know so-and-so is coming from, so where are people going from Bob Chin's, for example, in a certain time frame? It allows you some insights into that, is where
Thank you, George Orwell.
Right, to the portal.
All right, well, if there's no others, we don't need to prolong it. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Papanto, second, Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Go get them. Thank you.
Go get them.
All right. We're excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye?
Resolution approving and updated application of the Wheeling Retail and Restaurant Build-Out Assistance Program.
Mr. Spondilis, what do we got?
Thank you very much. The Village of Wheeling recently created, adopted, and implemented a very successful restaurant retail build-out assistance program. It's actually two programs. We call it Program A, Program B. One geared towards sit-down restaurant build-out, and the other specifically identified for food and beverage retail shopping center assistance. They both fall under the umbrella of this program. To date, we have had 4 applicants and 4 awards given. I think so far that the program has been working as intended. That said, during our last conversation, Trustee Rufrato brought up some concerns that we think adds value to the program, and before you this evening is a redlined version of the existing language for Program A and Program B with some additional teeth, if you will, specifically for property maintenance. While the program is not intended to be used as a property maintenance tool, we of course have code language, we have inspectors, community development handles that. It is important to take every opportunity to reinforce those property maintenance concerns, particularly when the village is giving away money. So what we have done is added some language to both programs. It is the same language applicable as it should be to both Program A and Program B, meaning restaurant versus retail shopping center. So it is complementary language in both programs, and I will just read, there are only a few additions. I will just read what has been added. It's important to note that nothing has been taken out of the existing language, so we're only talking about language that has been added to it. The first addition is part of the introduction that simply says, additionally, any applicant who is leasing a space shall come to the village board with their respective landlord or another property decision maker when presenting the grant at the assigned village board meeting. So that would require, as it says, any landlord to attend and be part of the conversation as the board discusses the potential for award to a tenant. Under grant policies, the language was added to say if a property owner applies for this grant program and there are open local municipal code violations, either at time of applying for a grant or prior to releasing payment for a grant, and the village has provided written notice to the property owner of said code violations, the village reserves the right to hold off on reviewing the grant application or withholding payment of a previously approved grant until all municipal code violations have been addressed to the satisfaction of the village. Those are the major additions. I think it's important to, as we're talking about property maintenance, discuss what the village has done to be more of a hammer when it comes to code enforcement, and that is complementary to this program, and it relates to the business license facet of our annual review. Director Clicker has established a process where each property is inspected and the owner notified of what violations are on that site, and that is part of the business license process. Director Clicker, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, what we do is as a new business comes into town, we do a business license inspection. As part of that, we notify in a multi-tenant building, we notify the property owner of any maintenance items that have been either lacking or are deficient. What nobody at this dais knew with the last discussion is that we had recently had a new business that had gone into Dunhurst Plaza. We had presented that list to the property owner of the deficiencies. And if you noticed, there has been progress towards completing these items. There was some patching of parking lot areas and that done in the last few weeks. That is not the end of the work that is necessary out there, but it is also something I can't we, as a village, can't expect a property owner to take something that hasn't been done for an extended period of time and instantly make changes overnight. This is a process we're working with them on, and we do expect and hope to see continued improvement at this property. Another property you might have noticed is Lyndhurst Plaza. They are actually restriping their parking lot as we speak. They're doing it in sections and doing the whole lot. These are both properties that have been notified of these deficiencies as part of a new business that came in as the business license process, something that we weren't previously doing. So we are seeing progress and improvement, and given time, we're going to make it all look great.
And certainly we can answer any questions the board may have on the language changes.
Trustee Vito.
Isn't this kind of TIF-ish in its nature, though, the grant program, to kind of remedy violations and dilapidations? So isn't it kind of weird to say, we're going to withhold money until you fix the violations to which you want to get money to fix?
Well, but as in the example of our last award, the award was for interior work for a tenant, and the discussion about code violations was for property maintenance issues.
For the owner?
For the owner.
Not the lessee?
Correct.
So we'll have full discretion every time we do?
Absolutely.
All right.
Trustee Rufato.
This is just a comment. I want to thank staff, John, for adding this to this program. I think it was needed, and the addition of what Ross is doing and just ties greatly into this program that Patrick has put together. So thank you.
So is there going to be a story about like the parking lots are going to get fixed now? Is that going to be tonight's story instead of like London crossings or? Okay. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm like, she's going to talk about this again. That's all she's going to talk about. Okay.
I didn't. Jimmy showed me.
You can do whatever you like. You're the press, whatever you like. If there are no other questions or comments, I need a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Motion, Trustee Rufato. Second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item J, I think we're at, right?
Yes.
Authorizing the acceptance of the village's allocation of American Rescue Plan Act funding pertaining to the coronavirus local fiscal rescue fund for the village of Wheeling.
When I was going through the packet and the first couple of things, I saw that we had like $50,000 and $100,000, and I remembered going online and looking, going, we're entitled to like $5 million. What are these guys doing?
Well, we don't have the money yet.
I know, but I knew we had to ask for it, and then like way at the end of the agenda was Jay here, so I'll let Mr. Kaplan explain. Thank you, Mr. Kaplan, for going after the rest of the $5 million.
Well, as you indicated, this is good news for the village of Wheeling. I think the board is aware that back on March 11th, 2021, President Biden signed H.R. 1319, which is entitled the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. The law provides $1.9 trillion in economic stimulus and COVID-19 relief, and also includes $19.53 billion in assistance for non-entitlement units of local government, which generally speaking means any municipality with a population of less than 50,000. That includes the village of Wheeling, and we were recently notified that the village's allocation of these funds is $5,253,699.92. That allocation might actually go up if any of the 1,200 eligible Illinois communities do not request their allocation. What staff is asking for tonight is authorization to make the request for the funds, which we must do by September 30th, 2021. If we don't do that, we forfeit our right to receive our allocation. Once we make the request, We will receive the money in 2 tranches, half of it within 30 days, and the second half approximately 12 months later. And then we have to spend the money on eligible uses as determined by the United States Treasury by December 31st, 2024. So we have a lot of time before we have to spend the money. As with any distribution of federal funds, there are a number of regulations and reporting requirements that the village has to comply with in order to receive its allocation. So the ordinance that's before you tonight would allow us to accept the funds and also execute 2 forms, the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund award terms and conditions and assurances of compliance with civil rights requirements. Staff has had a number of discussions internally about what would be the highest and best uses of this money. We have some ideas, but haven't come to any conclusions. What we would like to do is continue to have those discussions and then present our recommendations to you at your budget workshop meeting at the end of October. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Get the money.
Yeah, fill it out.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion trustee Vogel, second was trustee Papantos. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Official communications. Chief Dunn, when's the donut shop?
Friday,
Between,
5 a.m. and noon at the Dunkin' Donuts, formerly called Cops on Top, and we will probably still have Cops on Top and everywhere else around the building.
awesome. Rock and run the runway?
Final opportunity to advertise our rescheduled event for this Saturday, the 21st, at Chicago Executive Airport. Much like everyone has experienced in the past, it's a family-friendly event with bands beginning at 6 p.m. and fireworks still at 9:15. We did not change the firework time up, even though the sun sets a little bit earlier. So we're keeping the set changes as they have always been with the music. Food vendors, as always, lots of fun stuff. So far, the weather looks to be quite cooperative. So please come on out. All the details are available on the village's website, on the village's Facebook page, and at rockandruntherunway.com.
How many food vendors do we have?
Trustee Papantos, that answer fluctuates hourly. We currently have 10. We could have several more. You'd think this would be an easy question to answer, but food trucks can be a challenge, but we expect 10.
Is the lobster truck coming?
At my request, the lobster truck will be there.
There are certain things that are important.
I could not agree more.
Thank you.
And that's the 21st?
The 21st, this Saturday.
This Saturday. Awesome. Any other? Trustee Kruger?
Yes, since we're talking last topic and other issues with the pandemic, Manager Sandelis, we've talked, I think, offline about this, and this is probably a plea. I'd like to make 2 pleas of the general public, and I would like to know what our vaccination rate is in the village of Wheeling, or if there is a way to know it. I mean, we were all told pretty much daily and on, bottom of the run ticker tape of, how many people had got it, but how do we know if we're on the right path of, getting our community healthy? So in lieu of not having that information, I would just make a plea to the public that if you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. And then on that same grain, our restaurants are doing the very best they possibly can to serve us now that they're open. And all I would ask from the public is to just be patient and be kind to the people that are trying to serve you. In many cases, they're probably new and just started working in the restaurant and retail industry. So let's cut them some slack and not be in such a rush to have, pre-pandemic service levels. Because even before the pandemic, sometimes they weren't that great. So let's be patient with our essential workers. That's it.
I have an answer to your question.
Okay.
Thankfully, I had this information prior, so I was able to look it up. As of August 1st, at least, there were 20,096 residents with vaccine series, 53.4% of the population with complete vaccine series, 67.1 with at least one vaccine dose. Again, that was as of August 1st.
Very good.
Very good,
keep
not
it
good
going.
enough.
Not good enough, but keep it going. We're going in the right direction, right? So that's it. That's all I had. Thanks.
Trustee Vogel, you had something?
Yes, Wheeling Helping Hands, in lieu of the annual pig roast, is holding a Brat Fest, first annual Brat Fest. It'll be held at Ambets Post 66 on Old McHenry Road from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And short service will be held at 1 p.m. to commemorate the events of 9/11 and honor our local police and fire departments. The funds raised will be used for, among other things, shopping with the cops, scholarships for Wheeling High School graduates that are interested in safety or police science, and other local charities. So I hope you all can join us. It should be not quite the same as the pig roast, but nonetheless be a good event. So thank you.
And the day of that?
9/11.
Okay.
September 11th.
I know it was to commemorate.
It's a Saturday.
I just wanted to be
Right.
sure.
Saturday.
Anybody else? If there are no other announcements, we have one other business item to take care of. We have the bills for July 29th through August 11th, 2021. I need a motion for their approval unless there are questions.
So moved.
Motion for Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Horker?
Yes, be present tonight. I am the ringmaster.
Wow, I'm going backwards.
We do have an executive.
I'd like to adjourn, or I'd like to approve those bills too.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
I don't know why I looked at him instead of you, sorry.
That's okay, I was a trustee too. I was screwing up all night anyway, who cares? It's probably the moon. We do have an executive session this evening, so for those purposes, I need to, what are we going to do? We're going to recess. We have an executive session this evening for the purposes of review of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act and pending probable and/or imminent litigation. So, I need a motion to recess into executive session and adjourn the regular meeting.
So moved.
I
Second.
can read. Motion Trustee Rufato, second Trustee Kruger, all in favor?
That's a roll call, please. Executive session, it's always a roll call.
Fine, roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
If we could just I can remind the public that we will not be reconvening after the executive session. There will be no further business this evening.
We don't do anything official after executive session.
And we need to clear the room.
Yes. Recess. Potty break, 5 minutes.
On that. I sent that to John.